What's up, Hippo lovers? It is time for another episode of Talk of the Empire, here with all our loved guys, Zero Empires and T90, and it looks like you already had a good time, guys.
Hello. Yeah, we were just talking about Yellowstone Park actually, and other American sites. It's got a lot to see in the US apparently.
Crater Lake, Harry Davis. That's in Oregon. We were discussing that. Though I don't think Crater Lake is played anymore because Harry Davis is away from Age of Empires 2. But what's up, guys? What's up?
I did something wrong. It worked so much better before with the overlay.
No.
Somehow the cameras are shown weirdly. How do I change that?
Fix it, Nili. Fix it.
Fix it, Nili.
Yeah, it's
Every single time. No Zach picture. Let's do something super wild.
Zach's hat is fantastic, by the way. It is fantastic. I don't have enough spirit. We're 5 days from Christmas. Shame on me.
Oh man, it's only 5 days.
Mhm.
It doesn't feel like 5 days. I mean, I'm not ready for Christmas, to be honest.
Yeah.
And well, actually, with that, while Nili's
Woo!
fixing things, I guess they're fixed.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I was just gonna say happy holidays to everyone.
Yeah.
I hope you're all gonna have a great time over the end of the year, whether or not you celebrate Christmas. I think it's a good time of the year to do a talk of the Empire and reflect on the last year and what's happened in the last year, which I think is what this is all about. And thanks to everyone in the Age of Empires community for watching streams, organizing events, and just enjoying the game. I guess we've seen a lot of growth this year. I think we'll talk about that. But I'm, excited to see what 2019 has in store as well.
Oh man, so much happening for sure, and way more than a lot of people thought in, basically all of the last 15 years, right? And yeah, I think the major thing that most people didn't really see coming was how big Microsoft is in the Age of Empires world again now. And Zach, you are not really agreeing. Maybe you will just start off. You are kind of the bridge between us, the community, and Microsoft. So maybe we will just address the ECL topic first. What's up with Microsoft? What's going on? What can we hope? How did we get to ECL?
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I think to say I'm the bridge is maybe not exactly correct, because obviously other people are in contact as well. I know Mem, for example, got some funding for his not Battle of Africa, sorry, that's the topic we're talking about today. King of the Desert 2, he got the funding as well. And I believe you've been in contact with them as well, haven't you, Tristan?
Yeah.
Yes.
I got funding as well.
Nili as well, right?
And you too, yeah. So, I mean, I wouldn't say I was the bridge, but I've definitely had close connection to them for some time. So I hear things that are going on. And obviously, I've tried to impress on Microsoft what my personal and what Escape is ideas are for Age of Empires in esports, and, what we'd like to achieve. And it's a bit of a two-way thing. So they say, hey, you guys might want to do this, and we'll say, okay, well, we think this might be better. So it's an ongoing thing, but it is great to see, Microsoft have been pretty heavily involved, especially in the last months, with the support that's going out to these other events as well. So it's not just us with ECL and Escape, which I think is important, because there shouldn't just be one organizer and then everyone else has to, figure themselves out, which I think is really nice. But with regards to ECL, how did it all begin? Well, back in 2016 with Escape, we started doing just the weekend events. We started with Battle for Angkor, which was the very first one, where we debuted the Rise of the Rajas civs for the first time. And then we just kind of did things semi regularly, I guess. And then we decided to approach them with saying, okay, if we want to see Age of Empires grow as an esport, I think we need a platform that is consistent. I think we need regular tournaments so that players know what to expect. They're motivated to play and get in shape, and hopefully it motivates other people and players to try and reach for that as well.
And well, he surely did that, right? A lot of people thought, okay, we only have the top 8 teams there, but they truly delivered here. for example, when I asked like what are the best recorded games of the year, like 50% of all mentionings were like, look at that ECL game, that 3v3, and yeah, like the games have been exceptional this year in ECL.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think the ECL games have delivered, and it's a kind of a blessing and a curse at the same time, because I wish the ECL had a bit more exposure and it could reach more people. But at the same time, I think the quality of the games have been really big. But it is also, and I really want to make this clear as well, like ECL for us is a massive learning process. We've learned so much since we started this tournament. If we were to do it again from the start tomorrow, we'd probably change a lot about the whole event.
Such as?
Well, we've made changes as we've gone along.
Yeah.
I don't want to go into too many details, but like, for example, with the streaming policy, we've changed things there. With doing live versus recorded games, we've changed our approach there. And I think we're trying to like really figure out what we are as Escape Gaming, what we're trying to achieve. And we're trying to sort of focus so that we're actually really trying to, I guess we're trying to please the community in a way, and it's really difficult to do that sometimes.
How dare you?
How dare us, indeed.
Well,
but, yeah. Just one thing as well. Sorry, just to add, one big thing was probably just be the format slightly. I think the format is okay, but there's a lot to be desired.
So I've actually been a bit critical of the format, but I feel like considering the circumstances, considering the amount of time that the tournament takes, it's been amazing, man. Yeah, I've been really happy with it. As Nili said, as you said, the quality of games have been outstanding. I think that has to do with the settings. Props to everyone involved with the settings, Zach. I know it probably was not just you. It could have been Robo, T West, and maybe some other people as well. But
maybe the other guy on this call helped a little bit too.
Yeah, maybe Nili as well. Whoever it was, right? The settings were good, and players prepared because of the prize pool, I'm sure. So I've been satisfied with it.
Yeah, and I think that's interesting. You say you've been satisfied with it, and we'll talk about Battle of Africa and other events, which I think have had a lot more hype around them. And I think ECL is satisfactory, but it's not like outstanding, and that's probably for me why I would like it to be better still, because I want it to be outstanding. At the end of the day, $60,000 is a big amount of money, but then all things considered, it's spread over a long period of time. And this is more about making a platform and a reliable system for players to compete in, rather than necessarily making the most hype possible.
Yeah. Well, it's hard for me now. I don't know how in depth we want to get on this. But I think that the changes you made as far as this streaming policy goes was a huge help for myself, right? Because it got to a point where, like, first of all, it was the initial system made a lot of sense. You get points based off how often you participate, and that would help you go towards the LAN. Yeah. And then they would be on a rotational basis, I guess, with the main pool of casters. But it got to the point with me where I would take a significant loss in not necessarily revenue, which is not important here, but momentum, right? Like as a streamer, anytime I go online, I'm gaining momentum and more people are coming to my channel. So it became quite complicated because I didn't really enjoy my time, and it was hard for me to justify that time on the ECL stream. And so when you made it, when you removed that tax or whatever you want to call it, that made it really good for myself. And I know that was the same for others as well, like other streamers out there. And Nili might be able to agree or disagree. I don't know, but that's at least my thoughts on it.
I didn't know that the point system was removed for casters now.
No. I think it's still there, right?
We need to clarify that when we update the handbook, but there's not many eligible people to go to the LAN anyway. So we'll figure out a solution. I mean, we know. The thing is, we put the point system into place because we needed an objective way of saying this person and this person should be invited, and this person we don't have the money to invite them, therefore they're not. And that has to be objective, because it cannot be a case of, oh, well, the admins just like T90 more, so that's why he got the invite, because, and this is the things we have to consider, like way back when we were setting this thing up, because any opportunity that people have to be like, oh, there's some favoritism at play, they'll jump on it and they'll try and push that. So we'll figure out a solution.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as like the streaming goes, go on, Nili. You can go ahead.
Well, I will probably ask you the question in like the direction you're going to talk anyways. You said you weren't happy with the exposure at the moment. So let's say you expected 50% more views, clicks, whatever. Do you think you will reach those by the end of the year now that you changed the policy?
We'll see. We'll see. I think that it's probably going to appeal more to the people who want to watch it live, but I don't think there's enough. I think it's more than just the way the games are streamed that influences the viewership. I think it's the format of the event in terms of like the hype behind each event. I expect the LAN will be extremely hyped up and extremely well viewed, but I don't think that the way the format of the tournament lends itself well to people getting hyped. I mean, if you look at the Hidden Cup, we'll talk about this later in detail, but if you look at the way that worked, it was Friday, Saturday, Sunday, consecutive days, and there was a bigger viewership each day as more people got ready for the next day, right? Until you peak with that grand final. And obviously, we don't really have that. We have a week between streams, so the hype can die down in that week, and then there's not as many people ready to tune in on the next Saturday. So there's a lot of things that at play there. But I think that we will see an increase in the viewership now that we're switching to doing live games. But the reason that I wanted to just jump on the streaming thing real quick was because basically Escape Gaming, we needed to find our identity. And our identity as Escape Gaming, we're not streamers. It's a company that organizes events, and we aren't our own streamers. I know I am technically a streamer and I'm doing Escape stuff, but Escape Gaming itself should not be responsible for streaming in the long term, I think. It needs to be focused on actually organizing and making the events happen.
Would that mean that the Escape AoE channel would see less use in the future? Is that what you're leaning towards, or you're just saying that it's a possibility that Escape's like main focus is organization, but that's essentially it. Is that what you mean?
Kinda. I mean, Escape Gaming itself will be focused on organizing tournaments, because the way I see the future of the game, and we've talked about the past, we're going to talk about the future in this stream as well. I think if you look at any big esports, there's a really big network of supporting people, right? For Age of Empires, it's mostly community. And if you look at like Nations Cup, the last one, for example, there's a lot of people in the community volunteering to organize that event. And in the future, as let's be honest, more money enters the game, people will want compensation for their time. Like, you're not going to get so many people just volunteering their time while the players are earning money and the streamers are earning money and everyone else sort of seems to be earning something for their time, right? So I think that's what we want to build up. We want to build up that actual structure that allows us to organize events properly and compensate people for that time.
Yeah, we're at a weird place where there are many individuals doing very well, and then to participate in something like Escape actually like lessens their job, right? Like it does not improve their situation as much as it would say if like Dash is casting League of Legends. He doesn't have his own channel. He is on a casting team, and then that is his job. So it's complicated. I think that it's good that Escape have made changes because the community is going to change. And I think next year, 2 years from now, things could be very, very different. So, as a caster, I've been really happy, like extremely happy with how you guys have handled things from the organizational standpoint to the settings of the event, and then communicating with everybody. And so if you've ever gotten flack for that, Zach, or any of the admins out there, you guys do a fantastic job. So thank you.
Thank you too. Nili, anything from you? Are we still on the ECL topic?
Well, the red dot is at ECL, so kind of.
Okay. I'm not watching the stream. I don't want to see myself.
You're gorgeous. Kappa pride. Kappa pride.
Kappa, no Kappa.
how big do you think will the finals be? Or let's maybe talk about the standings at the moment. Maybe that's moving a bit away from what we have as casters, but more with the players. I have the standings over here. Secret kind of delivering as we expected. Ahead there was 28 points. Heresy obviously last, kind of as we expected as well. But in between, we have some situations that's obviously before the running 2v2 stage that will be having the finals this Saturday over at SKBAE. It feels like Aftermath a bit underperforming. Finns, Brazilians, some people might expect them a bit higher, and the Chinese might be a bit higher than most people expected.
It's incredibly competitive. That's the thing, you know. I think that Secret, SY, Frantic, Aftermath, Vietnam Legends, Suomi, Bazookas, all of those teams could be top 3 teams, right? Maybe not Vietnam Legends. Maybe they don't have the legend, the legend. maybe they don't
They're
have
all
the
legends.
Level.
That's the problem.
Yeah, that's it. Maybe they don't have the level of consistency, but I don't need to argue too much about that. It's just it's very competitive. No offense to Heresy, I just don't think that they were ever expected to be top 4 yet. We'll see.
They're improving.
Yeah, they definitely are. I've been impressed recently, but. You know, I'd say Aftermath probably the one thing that stands out to me, especially after BoA, which we'll get to next. A lot of people expected them to be number 2 here, but SY have been around a long time, and Frantic are performing really well, so they certainly deserve their spots.
Well, I think the Chinese teams have always done well across the board in pretty much every tournament. So you can always expect there's going to be one Chinese team near the top at some point. I think the surprises for me were Aftermath getting off to a pretty poor start. And again, we'll talk about this in Battle of Africa, but they did really well in BoA. And I think a lot of people expected them to probably do better at the start of ECL. But they're definitely not out of it. Like a lot of people were worried, Aftermath, got off to a poor start. Are they going to be able to actually pull this back? And looking at the standings, they're in 4th place. They're 4 points behind Frantic, 8 points behind SY. It's possible to bring it back. If they win one event, they can get themselves up to 3rd comfortably and maybe even 2nd.
But remember that they're not scoring the 2v2 event upcoming now, right? And SY, Secret are both in still. So they will get further ahead.
True. Yeah. So they'd have to come back later on still. But, this is only the halfway mark now.
Yeah.
Now, Suomi is a team I want to talk about real quick because I think everyone expected more from them as well. But they took out Secret in the last round and they didn't they beat SY in the 2v2?
Apparently, chat is saying that SY is out, so I trust that.
I was going to say, yeah. So you confused me there, Nili. But yeah, Suomi, labeled so far as the giant killers, not looking so good in the points, but if they keep that up, then they're going to disrupt the field a little bit.
Yeah, they certainly have the talent to do so. They performed well in BoA. If I would have picked a top 4, I probably would have said I might have had Frantic in 5th, honestly, before ECL. Maybe. I mean, they obviously have a lot of talent, but it wouldn't have been unheard of to have Suomi in your top 4 with SY and with Aftermath. So again, it's very competitive.
We also have to remember that before ECL, like the final stage started, Vivi was still in SY, and then he switched to Frantic. That's why a lot of people had like the Lux Vivi team would have been sick. And then Vivi moved over, and I felt like, so that's going to work. Tim with Vivi, and then they have Happy or something. But they worked out pretty well there.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, they made that work.
Who's going to go to the finals, guys? I need your predictions.
Go ahead,
Zach first. Zach.
Secret. I expect Secret, and I do expect SY as well. Not just because that's where they're standing now. I just genuinely think that they are the best performing teams, and they probably will still be the best performing teams by the end of the league stage.
Yeah, there's obviously chances for Frantic, obviously chances for Aftermath, even Vietnam Legends, Suomi, all those guys can change their positions. but we're looking at former Tyrant players who used to always face up against SY in finals. So Secret and SY 1 and 2, you have to expect that they're going to be there, but you never know.
Yeah, I think an upset could be Aftermath coming from behind, taking the
Or
second
Frantic,
spot,
yeah.
or Frantic as well. Yeah, I don't think VNA will be able to contend the second and first, and I think Suomi might be too far behind now.
Guess we'll find out in what is it, 6 months now? No, it's more than that, right? 7, 8.
No, it's 7 months. But I think what do you?
I think
it
will be decided before that. I think it will be decided before that. I think like Secret will, I think most likely win the 2v2 stage now with Dowd and Viper. Then we have 2 more 1v1 stages where Secret should really perform well.
Yeah.
AM should get some points there. I think in 3 months we kind of have only like 2 or 3 teams fighting for the second spot. That's what I'm expecting.
Yep.
Do you think the lower teams will still be motivated to play?
Well, the thing is, for example, that's their chance, right? For example, if, let's say, Secret is already through and there's still a 1v1 event, they might allow Slam to play again or something instead of like training heavily with Dao, Tato, Viper to get in top shape. So that might be a shot to maybe have, like, instead of like 3% beating the Viper, having 20% to beat Slam. So I think the lower teams will be way more motivated. Yeah.
Okay.
There's also,
that's good. Yeah.
There's also prize pool associated with the placings, regardless of if they will get top 2 in the end, right? So
yeah.
I mean, if money's a motivator, if money's a motivator, even if they are out of the top 2, even if they're out of contention, they're going to be looking to get first place in every event.
That's true. I hope. And in fact, the majority of the prize money for the event is in the league stage. It's not in the LAN, because we wanted to motivate teams throughout the whole year to play.
Yeah, but now you're adding 4K to the LAN, right?
Yeah.
An additional 4K?
Yeah, we're adding 4K to the LAN as well.
So what's that? The winner 6K, 2K for second or something at the LAN?
I don't know exactly. We need to update the handbook with it, but something like that. Yeah,
it's good.
I think there should be a huge gap between first and second, not like it was before. But I already told you that, Zach.
Yeah, you told me.
Well, what was it before? I forget what it was in the past.
Really small difference. I feel it was like 2.5K to 1.5K or something.
Yeah, maybe 4 to 1 or something. I guess it depends on the total amount, but
yeah, I mean the total amount before is pretty small, so it felt like kind of a bit lame to not give the second place a decent amount.
Yeah, I can understand that.
After they played a whole year to get there.
Yeah, but they get the flights, they get hotel, they get all the prize money they collected to get second, and then they're flying there to play a series that they lose. Why should they get money? I'm a fan of, like, if you invite them to not give the last spot, which is kind of the second in this final, anything.
Well, it's a competitive outlook, right? It's a competitive outlook that winners should get more, right? I think the situation before was very different because of the amount of prize pool, and I can understand why Zach wouldn't want a team to win a $500 when or an individual to win like $500 when they go there and someone else is getting so much more. But with the amount of prize pool it's going to be at the LAN, I don't even know what the number is exactly, but it would make sense to have a split that's different.
Yeah, it was 2,600 to 1,700 before. They will obviously add 4,000 to that.
So it's like 900 to play 2 days or something, divided by 4. So they're playing basically for 2 days for $200.
Not bad, is it?
It could be worse, but
it could be worse. But yeah, I mean that's the thing. Like the LAN final, it's almost like a prize in itself, I guess, to get to go to the LAN and have all the flights and accommodation paid for. And obviously, I think most players will take the opportunity to play against each other offline because it is a different feeling. Looking at your opponent across the table within slapping distance, as you would say. I think they like that a lot.
Yeah, I think there will be hype for the ECL finals, especially like. It's most likely that we will see Secret, the fan favorites for sure. And yeah, let's see. Any last
likely.
thoughts about ECL? Because we kind of need to move on, right? There's a long list to decide.
Yeah, I think we should move on.
Tristan, anything?
I have no more thoughts, man. Everything's been covered.
There is not a location yet. Just to clarify that.
Tell us, Zach.
Well, I can't tell you if there isn't one. It's Microsoft's job to do the location.
Okay. I won't ask any mean questions. Okay, next thing. Battle of Africa. That was MEM's tournament early this year, and as Tristan already said, quite hyped up. We had, I believe, 8 teams performing. In the end, it was Tyrants in the old days winning it. Second was AM in a very stompy final, and we had SY and the Finns there losing the semi-finals. Guys, what's your recap on Battle of Africa? Maybe for Zach it wasn't that big, but I know for Tristan, for you, that was a big event, big numbers as well.
Yeah, I mean, numbers-wise was fantastic. It was the first tournament that I could actually be there for almost every set. I forget the exact start date, but it just worked out with when I'd gone full-time. So, yeah, I could see all the action. The teams played really well. As you said, the only thing that was disappointing about the entire event was probably the finals. Aftermath, they were beating Sling. I think they were the only team to beat Sling like every single time. And then in the final, they got swept. But the whole event was great, man. I didn't expect, when it got announced, because it was different, it didn't jump out at me. It didn't excite me. But once the tournament began, once I got into it, it was fantastic. I was really happy with it. And I think Mem should be really happy with it as well.
Yeah, it was a super nice event. I enjoyed it. I got to watch quite a lot. I don't remember casting too much at that point, but I did enjoy it a lot. And like you say, I think the finals were a bit disappointing with the sweep because I think Aftermath had high expectations. If I'm not wrong, they won every single set. They even beat Tyrant in the Swiss stage 3-0.
Yep.
Yeah,
so everyone was like, Aftermath, like they've just come out of nowhere, this new team. They're doing so well. They've just 3-0'd everyone pretty much in the Swiss stage into the final, and then they get swept themselves. But then I think a lot of people left that tournament with this impression of Aftermath, like, okay, these guys are going to do really well in the future.
A lot of people expected that. And also Finland losing 3-2 twice against Tyrant there. So they were very close to either winning in Swiss stage or eliminating them in the semis as well.
There were some amazing sets. I'm thinking back to, I think, SY versus, what is now BZK, Bazookas. A sick set of games. It was so good. Kind of forget the names of the maps now, but I think Game 5 was incredible. I mean, the tournament, again, when it was announced, I did not expect it to be so good. I did not expect the games to be so good, the competition to be so close. I was really happy with it. I had a great time.
I think the reason it was so good was the civ drafting, because the way that Mem did the civ draft, or that they set the civ drafting up, was every single civ was picked and then one civ was banned. So each team had 15 civs. Yeah, it was Korean. It was actually wasn't it Burmese at the start? Like and then Koreans got banned every time. Yeah,
they quickly figured it out. Yeah. We need to ban Koreans. Oh,
but this was before the Korea change. So yeah. But I think that made it interesting because players had to actually really plan their civs well, and they would use a huge different number of combinations, and we saw a lot of different civ matchups as well, which I thought was really nice to see.
Yeah, what the small problem is that we had matchups like one Burmese, one Mayans, and one Vikings on a land map that always results in a sling. Or like Saracens, Teutons, Goth. They slung so often. And that was kind of the problem with the different civilizations. Yeah, we love to see them. But how many Mamluks did we really see? I only remember one game where Goth played a lot. Vikings slung close to every single time. Because it kind of was how it was designed, right? and if you give them like tensive and repeat, you could have reduced that, but still it felt very fresh, I have to say.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah.
I think it's a good word for it. Everything was different. Everything was unique and fresh.
Yeah. And Tarsis did a really good post on AoE Zone. I wish he'd do one of these for every tournament because it was epic. Like, it was this huge post with all these stats and all this information, and like he did such a good job on that. And I really enjoyed reading through that, and I think a lot of appreciation went his way for that as well.
Yeah.
But one thing that actually, go ahead, Nili.
No, go continue.
I think this is also as well the first tournament that Tyrant played with Tato, because Tato joined Tyrant in January 2018, and he played with them. And I don't think Jordan was Jordan playing. I can't remember.
He did.
Yeah, he did played the group stage. The 3-0 they lost, and then Dowd came over and they won 4-0. And that's why Dowd always said, like, obviously you're losing 3-0 with Jordan and winning 4-0 with me.
Yeah, obviously that's a typical comment from Dowd. I don't think it was that simple. But the difference for me, and this is actually the case in general between, if you compare Aftermath and Secret, is the preparation and the strategy. I think if you look at individual skill and compare Secret's individual skill to Aftermath's individual skill, Aftermath would be on top. In fact, I guess I shouldn't say who because it was a private conversation, but a Secret member said the same, right? They might all say that publicly. I don't know. But, you know, you saw Tyrant 3-2ing Finland, so they showed they were vulnerable. It was twice, right, Nili? I think it was twice.
Yes.
And yep. So they showed they were vulnerable, and there was a lot of hype surrounding Aftermath because there were a lot of new kids on the block there, and they were stomping everyone. And then you get to the final, and it was like Tyrant had spent weeks preparing strategies that no one saw earlier on in the event, and AM tried to play standard, and they lost. And Tato, like you bring up, what made me think of this is Tato. I mean, there were a couple of strategies that I don't think Tyrant would have ever done if it wasn't for the inclusion of Tato. And I know that Tato was the one who thought of those things. So beyond Tato's skill, beyond Tato's skill, you might be thinking of the Persians one, but it's Tato's mind. Like what Tato brings to Tyrant is his mind and his creativity with his strategies, and it's really well done.
And he also had some of the most experience with the expansion civs as well, because he was one of the players who was actually playing them before they came to Vubli with the Warlike Kingdoms mod. But I was going to say one of those strategies was the Persians, where they did that like Persian rush. What was it, like 4 minutes? He built the barracks or something.
Yeah.
And, like, who is going to expect that, really? The problem is with that one, I remember they called a re or something, and so he had to like delete everything to try and hide it so they could do it in the next game.
I believe that AM called the re, and AM, so Tato was unable to delete, but the point was, is that AM could have saw it. I asked Aftermath afterwards, and they either said they didn't see it or they did see it and they didn't think anything of it because Tato did it again and it worked. So it was that's a great one that stands out in my mind as well.
Yeah, that was on a good map as well. That was the map with, I think it had a lot of deer in the middle. Was it? It might have been like a step style map.
It was step. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, yeah. Gosh, I thought I was losing my memory, but it's still there. Still got it. So about Battle of Africa, do you remember who sponsored it?
I think it was Mem Plus Community. PGI.
Yes, and I remember talking about PGI when we did a Talk of the Empire before Battle of Africa started. I think we had Mem on the show, actually. And I said to Mem, make sure that you've actually got the money from them because they don't look very legit. Well, I went on PGI's website today. They don't have a website anymore.
It's gone?
It's gone.
A month ago.
They're gone. Okay. I don't know if they're completely gone, but the website's gone, and they seem to have, I don't know. They never looked very legit anyway. They always looked a little bit, I don't know. They just didn't look good. But anyway, so it was good. Mem secured the money, obviously. But it brings me to raise the question of how much value do we as a community bring to the advertisers that decide to sponsor events in our community?
So they do, I think it's a different website now, Zach. They do have a website.
Okay.
Now,
Phew.
now it still has Mem's Battle of Africa banner on the images. Now it's actually, so I looked at this a month ago, and it was a lot worse than this. This is pretty good. Essentially what PGI is, for those that don't know, is they actually are selling like custom-made PCs or selling equipment. But yeah, Zach, it's a good point. I mean, I think it's important that, because we're getting a lot of viewers now, I think it's important that, you know, we as a community or individuals, in this case, Mem, try and present more for sponsors so people are getting more involved. Like, I don't think, I mean, I have no way of knowing this, but I don't think anyone purchased anything off PGI's website because of BoA. And that's not necessarily Mem's fault. It's not necessarily PGI's fault, but it's kind of what it is.
Mm-hmm. And that's why I bring this up, right?
Yeah,
because if you look at other esports, and I sound like a stuck record, hey guys, have you heard of these other games? They have esports too. Basically, you know, you have these corporate sponsors, and that's really where the money is coming from in order to sponsor big events and things. Obviously, if we aren't able to deliver, I guess, some value to a sponsor, then we might struggle to secure sponsors in the future. And I think it's important for an important step forward for us to be able to secure sponsorship regularly and reliably.
Yeah, I think, again, I think that we're in a really exciting and interesting phase right now. It's something we need to think about as the community grows. And hopefully with the help of Escape, right, those things will be more attainable for big events.
Well, that's really what we're focusing on. You know, that's what our goals are for 2019, I suppose, to try and reach out. We want to sort of build up a Asian community in a way that everyone can work together. And so that's why we see ourselves removing Escape Gaming from the streaming role. And
wait, did you change something? Okay, now you're back.
Sorry, yeah, my internet's been really bad recently.
Okay.
You're good now.
Well,
you're good.
Okay. No, it's fine. Yeah,
cool. So I just want to say we wanted to sort of focus on the Escape Gaming should focus on the tournament organization and try and bring community together to actually, you know, let's say unite the community so that we can get proper sponsorship, because I think that's what we need.
Yep, I agree, man. I agree.
Cool. Anything else for BoA though?
What would you have liked more, KOTD2 or BoA2?
KOTD. 1v1's better than team games. It's not comparing the tournaments. I think 1v1s are more hyped for viewers. 1v1s are more hyped for most spectators and casters. So for that reason, KOTD.
I'd have to agree as well. Just 1v1 format is just pure, you know, I guess it's a pure test of skill between two players. And it really just comes down to who can outplay the other player. And I think that's what gets most people excited more than anything.
Yep. What about you, Nili?
I think BoA2 would have felt too close to a normal ECL event. And I think KOTD2 is a bit more of its own thing. So I think KOTD2 excites me more. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, unanimous. Well, good job we've got KOTD2 coming and not Battle of Africa 2 then, isn't it?
Yeah.
Good stuff. Well
okay,
then, NAC.
Oh yeah, I heard of that. So
that's a thing.
Yeah. I have no idea how we are addressing this. So obviously it was a sick event for me. I came up with the idea at the same time Tattoo moved over to the Tyrants. Was it like in January last year? All of us meet up in
it was January,
Brighton.
Yeah, it was in Brighton.
Second week, I think.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and a lot of beers helped to get a lot of good ideas, apparently.
I remember at that meetup, you and Killer B were sat down like on some beanbags or something, I don't know, and I came over to you and you were like quizzing me, and I don't know, something magical happened there.
Between the two of us, or?
Good. No, I just mean in general.
Be careful.
Like,
yeah.
I gotta be careful.
Something magical happened. Ooh, tell us more about this magical moment between Zach and Nili. Tell us more.
Well, T9, you told a good story there as well.
Yeah. We're not gonna bring that up.
Yeah. Okay.
Nili knew that I was about to continue that joke, and so he used his blackmailing material immediately.
Yeah.
Immediately went to the blackmail material.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, and then I planned a lot, and yeah, it seems like people really loved it. It was long, it was intense, we had a lot of laughs, and that's probably something I will never get. And viewer numbers have been incredible, feedback has been incredible. Looking forward to edition number 2.
6K, right? 6.5K?
Something like that, yeah.
Viewers?
That's something.
That is insane, man. You should be really proud of it. I think that community feedback has been nothing but positive.
Yeah.
And I think that the community values seeing the players and everybody together. I think that's special, you know. And although we've had meetups in the past, they've never really been publicized, and it's not really been made into a proper viewable event. And so I think NAC was a really a nice step, and it felt really personal as well. Obviously, since it was in your apartment, it was really chill, and I think that was, for us, it was really enjoyable because of that. And for the viewers, I think they got to see a different side of people as well, which is always nice.
I think the webcams added a lot, and I think honestly the casting of the players was just exceptional as well. It was so much fun. I remember how I was lying on my couch and just laughing my ass off when Tedo and Dowd were commentating or something. Oh god, we had so fun series. We kind of needed to change the rules during the tournament. After evening number 1 or 2, we kind of changed to no drinking for players before they finish their games, because we wanted to keep the seriousness, but it was still pretty epic for us, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, it was an interesting combination of big money tournament, but also there was a lot of closeness to it. You could see the fans. It also helped that it was in your apartment, right? You could see the fans hanging out, having a good time. These players are friends. They've known each other for years. To be able to cast games and make fun of their friends as they're playing each other is just unique. You can't find it anywhere else.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure what I can say more. I was very happy with the results. I remember I was in contact with Microsoft because I wanted money from them, and I guaranteed them I'm trying to reach 1.5k viewers, and maybe the finals. I thought, I will give them a shot, right? And say, we'll have 3k for the main event or the finals. And well, when I clicked start streaming, I had 600 people waiting, and my highest viewer number was 1.2k at that point.
Yeah,
so
that's pretty awesome.
It just went up from there, didn't it?
Yeah,
it's awesome.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about that a bit later for sure. Yeah, and well, I had a successful tournament, but well, we also had. Oh, do you want to talk about NAC 2? I would have switched to Hidden Cup now, but
we
can ask questions.
It makes sense
up to you guys
to touch on NAC 2 here. I don't think it's unless you want to do it at the end.
No. I don't have an order.
Okay. Well, NAC 2 obviously coming up. It's you want it to be bigger and better than the first NAC. Bigger because there's going to be more players. But what's going to make it better than the first one?
I think the idea of having committed casters to jump in. The first episode was there was the possibility that I solo cast every single game, and maybe Jordan jumps in 1 or 2. Players cast a lot and helped out a lot there. I think not overlapping with the World Cup will help a lot. And I think simply my channel being way bigger will help out with publicity. And I feel we will have the combination of seriousness and a big tournament. Fun and a big tournament, a bit bigger, simply because of Matt Salsa and Microsoft. like 14K prize pool, like people are taking this super seriously now, right? Instead of like, okay, yeah, I had a fun 7 days, but like the winner gets $1,000. That's a big difference to like what they're fighting for now.
Right. Do you think that like now there's more money involved and players are going to be more serious about winning, that there'll be less sort of laughing and joking and having fun?
Not with those characters.
Okay.
If
yeah, you're right there. You're right. Yeah. Because I just worry that things could be too serious sometimes, you know. And I think that the part of the charm for NAC is that it does have that sort of casual vibe to it as well. And it would be a shame if that was lost, because I think that's really endearing and it's very interesting for people to see those interactions.
Yeah, and NAC2 will also have the Fun Friday, where we'll have like fun settings. Like I want to see Dowd against Leary micro scenario, or Viper and Jordan playing against MBL and Leary controlling mouse and keyboard, or something like that. So that should be like super funny as well. And we have a full day for that after we've been to Rocket Beans again. And so even if it is somewhat a bit more serious, which I don't really expect, maybe if we get into the bracket stage, I think the Fun Friday should be pure laughing.
Cool. Yeah, I think you didn't have that last time, correct? So I think that's something. Yeah, I think that's a good inclusion.
We had Rocket Beans last time, which was awesome.
I have to give
English
trip.
I have to give Donnie a hat at some point.
I remember.
Former Ensemble Studios. This is getting off track a little bit, but you mentioned Rocket Beans. A former Ensemble Studios staff member messaged me on AoE Zone a few months ago and said that he had all this merchandise. So it's actually still sitting behind me on the floor where I took the picture. But hats, T-shirts, like 20-year-old T-shirts and hats. I was thinking I'm never going to wear one of these in public. Donnie tweets me immediately after I posted it. He's like, "Oh, I need that hat. I need that hat." So I have to get that to him at some point.
I think you guys will meet.
Oh, yeah, for sure. For sure.
Maybe if the escape finals are in Europe, I wouldn't be too surprised if he tries to stop by.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there will be opportunities. There's only bigger and better things coming to the community, right? So community will grow. And
also, I didn't mention NAC2, we will have the public viewing, right? I ran this whole club for like 100, 150 people, and they will watch the whole semifinals and finals. And I think like I won't experience that at all, because I will obviously try to babysit everything here. But people have been super excited for that.
Sweet. Should we talk about the qualifiers? I feel like we should at least mention where we're at as far as the second qualifier, and then congrats to Backed, because I'm excited for the guy, man. I'm excited. It'll be a great opportunity for him, not necessarily for the event, but just to see people he's played against for years. I'm really happy for him. And he's played incredibly well recently. Possibly, Nili, your apartment cup could have improved his form for ECL, maybe. Like he's probably put so much time into preparing. It could be why he's been a beast in ECL recently, too.
Or the other way around. I don't really know. He plays a lot, he beats a lot, and he, I think, had number 5 in rating as well. So he's beastly, and I expect him to beat a lot of pros and give them a tough time.
He's always been very active, though, hasn't he? I mean, I don't remember a time when Backed hasn't been playing a lot of games and winning as well.
Well,
so it's nice to see, and he's such a nice guy. Like he's such a good character. So I think it'd be so good to see him there.
Yeah, we had a lot of troubles there getting the visa. I hope everything is settled now. Oof, that was quite some work. But
good job he won the first qualifier and not the second one then.
Yeah. Otherwise it would have been really tough. Yeah.
Huh, interesting. Well, good to see it's getting worked out.
That's actually why we have such a big gap between the league stage and the grand final for ECL, because of visa issues.
Okay.
Well, if you just get secret and aim to win, you can do it basically everywhere.
Oh, okay.
It's rigged. It's rigged, guys. It's rigged.
Don't give me ideas.
It might be cheaper flights as well to Europe.
That's true, but we have the budget for flights. We said, what's the worst case scenario in terms of price for flights, and that would be like Brazil and China. Yeah, because Brazil's more expensive than China. So if it was a Brazil-China final, we'd have enough money to cover the flights. So we're fine no matter what happens there.
Okay, sweet. So we still have to rush through topics, or not really rush, but get through them. And yeah, after my topic, kind of get onto Tristan's Hidden Cup. The winner, again, Mr. Viper, in a very entertaining final against MBL. When I heard Hidden Cup, I was kind of skeptical, but T90, you really made it work and had to be blown away by the feedback and the numbers as well, right?
Yeah, and for a lot of factors. First of all, thank you. So I guess similar to you, Nili, going into the event, I had a goal, right? And I far surpassed that goal as far as, well, not only Twitch viewers, but YouTube viewers. But man, like, I'm really happy because it really didn't do the best job of promoting it. I think the settings could be way better. Like, I look at Hidden Cup and forget about the viewer numbers, and I think, okay, that's a good idea, but it should have been better. And maybe that's just the way I look at things, but you know, I didn't promote the event. I didn't contact Microsoft. I didn't even upload anything to YouTube addressing it. And then I had 6K viewers in the final day. So, you know, just like with NAC, like Nili's introducing some different things for NAC too, because he learned after NAC. I will do the same for Hidden Cup too. And yeah, I loved it, man. It was so much fun. I know, Zach, you and I were casting the one set together. Yeah. It was so much more fun than I thought it would be. Casting, you know, it was so fun, and the viewers loved it. Guessing who the players were, even the players I've heard feedback from. The only negative feedback was from a few players when they would do something epic and everyone in the chat would say Viper, and they're like, what the hell, man?
They want recognition, right?
I mean, I guess on the bright side, if you had an epic fail, no one would guess you.
Don't.
Yeah.
So I mean, that is
the full
positive
guy.
as well. Yeah. But yeah, there's things I've learned from it for sure, and I was happy with it.
Yeah,
for sure.
It was a really fun event, and something like that has been, I think the reason it was so successful in terms of viewers is because a lot of people have wanted an event like this for a long time. I remember back in the AOC zone years ago, people were talking about this idea, but no one ever did it. And so when you made it happen, and I think as well, as I said earlier, the fact that you did Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it allowed you to have that build up to the Sunday. And then the hype increasing as players get knocked out, and you're thinking, well, who could it really be? Everyone wanted to see the reveal. Yeah. That was like, that's really the peak of it all. It's not who wins, it's the reveal at the end, who was who. And that was really exciting. You had so much feedback. I know you're going to improve a bunch of stuff. So I'm looking forward to the second one as well. It's going to be great.
Thanks. Yeah. So it's worth mentioning that running an event like that is very complicated, especially when the players in the community now are oftentimes streaming. And I never want to tell someone not to stream. Like the Chinese guys always want to stream their games. There were some complications there. Of course, you have big streamers like Doubt and Viper and MBL who are online a lot. So everyone had to play their part. Robo did a fantastic job. For those that don't know, Robo would communicate with the players. He would get a time zone that they could play on each given day. And he was the mediator, right? And then the games would happen. He would get all the recorded games, handle them, send them to me. I was never spoiled. So I think Robo's in the chat. Yeah, he's there.
Yeah.
What's up, noob? Thank you, man. Thank you. That was you did a fantastic job. Yeah, get the AoE
AoE Robos in the chat.
So yeah, it's a complicated thing, and the players even were good sports. Multiple players were speaking in Chinese. They were saying GGs in all caps. They were acting as if they were other people, which was a lot of fun. They played along with the community.
I loved the final with Viper pretending to be Chinese. That was just, I was rolling, man. I was rolling. I was so good.
So I think in the semifinals, so we get into the game room, and it was Hidden Cup. We'll probably look at the brackets here in a second, but I think Viper was actually. Should I spoil?
What do you mean?
Who played or won? I
Yeah,
already have it on stream. Who won?
Yeah. The identities, the identities. If whatever at this point, if they haven't seen it, then they're going to be spoiled. But Viper was Hidden Cup 4, and I think Miguel was 9. The players joined the game room. What was Viper's username instantly says something in Chinese, and Miguel instantly responded in Chinese. So if you thought the first person was trolling, you would think that the second person was probably legitimate because it was an instant response. But no, they were
so
both,
good.
Oh, it was so good. And then we knew in the final because Viper said, "Hello, you beautiful Canadian," in the game room. So at that point, I was thinking, okay, this is going to be someone who knows Dave pretty well. So it was either Viper or MBL, and we kind of had our suspicions at that point anyway. It was good.
I think everyone would be suspecting Viper in the final regardless, though. Yeah, that makes sense, right? But yeah, that was so cool. Yeah, I mean, maybe do you want to tell us some of the changes that are coming for Hidden Cup 2, or is that secret until they announce?
Yeah, I mean, I can announce an announcement. How's that? Zach knows.
That's what Talk of the Empire is all about.
Yeah, that sounds like you'd fit right in here. Welcome to the club.
So obviously, KOTD is coming up shortly, and then NAC is first or second week of February. Around the conclusion of NAC is when the announcement for Hidden Cup 2 will come. One thing I can tell you, because obviously maps are going to be different civs settings, the prize pool distribution is going to be very different. Every player who participates, and there will be 16 participants, even if they lose, they will get some cut of the prize pool, which I think is important. But there will be one qualifier, most likely, for a spot. So you have 15 players, and then you'll have one qualifier. Obviously, the qualifier will not be hidden. We will know who'll be fighting for that spot. Okay. Well, because it's too complicated. It's too even making it. Initially, the event was going to be 8 players, and then I felt like, well, God, if I do 8, then there's another 8 players who are fantastic who could easily win the event who can't get in. So we did 12, but then 12 wasn't the fairest system, and also there's a lot of hype surrounding it. So we will bump it up to 16, but we can't abuse Robo too much. So. But yeah, I think that's pretty much all I have to say. I'm looking forward to the future with that.
And Nili disagrees with the losers getting money?
Yeah, like obviously, but you know that's totally fine. Like you can have a different opinion on for that.
Well, let me give you an example, right? Because I understand from the competitive standpoint, you want winners, you want to win and profit from that, and you don't want a system that benefits losers. That it's not what a competitive system's about. However, at the moment we have 4 people max that are full-time players. I mean, could be wrong on that number, but a lot of these guys have jobs. A lot of these guys have school. They need to justify their time playing. And so I feel like if, let's say we have, again, this could change, but let's say we have a $7,000 prize pool, right? And
that's a very specific number.
Yeah. Let's just say we have a $7,000 prize pool. If the people who lose in the first round in a 16-player event get $100, that in my eyes is not an awful thing, right?
No, I agree.
So and I've spoken to players about it, and they're like, yes, even if I lose, I can say that my time invested into the training, my time invested into that. Got me something, as opposed to, especially like when the top 4 are fairly consistent, those guys who are very close to it and just out of reach, they're getting something, which I think is good. It's needed for this community.
I agree completely.
Yeah, that's like a big problem with Age of Empires at the moment, that we are, and that's kind of what Mem was criticizing, or like not necessarily Mem, but some people are criticizing with ECL as well, that we will give money to the top 32 in the world and then make a clean cut. And there has to be the cut, we all know that. But the idea behind giving those guys $100, like let's say the 9th to the 16th best player, totally makes sense, because they need to, like, for us it's super good if they are getting paid and they can invest more time into improving and maybe someday throw off the Viper.
Yeah.
One
so
day.
from a very personal perspective here, not necessarily from an admin standpoint, I'm in a position where I'm casting games, and obviously it's a supply and demand situation, but I'm doing very well for myself. And the guys who are brilliant players are sometimes not even profiting a cent off these tournaments. And so I have a deep conviction that, like, if I have control over it, that everyone who gets involved is going to get something. Now, it still has to be fair, right? It still has to be fair. But at least for Hidden Cup 2, there will be, like, every player who qualifies, every player who makes it will get something, for sure.
Yeah. And like that's the difference to the second place for ECL finals, because they already get the flights, the trip, and the experience.
That's true.
So
yeah,
there is a difference.
I have no quarrel with increasing the prize pool disproportionately for the land final with the extra 4K. And that's not really a problem at all. And with ECL, I know that it's not exactly the same as Hidden Cup, where everyone gets something no matter what. But let's take Heresy, for example. You guys always have an opportunity. You have 16 opportunities to get into the prize money over the course of the year. And the fact that you're in is an opportunity that recurs. So it's very likely that over 16 events, you're going to get somewhere. I hope. No disrespect.
So I have to give a shout out to the winner of the tournament for the ultimate troll. Viper is one of those guys that's already so good at the game that sometimes you don't want to continue giving him credit, right? Like, damn, he's good, like, everywhere. But so I mentioned this during the stream and on video if you've seen it. But a few weeks prior to the Hidden Cup event, I had Viper's stream on in the background. And for those that know me, I'm always listening to a stream if I'm not streaming. And Viper was talking with Doubt, and they're just like, they're trash talking each other. Doubt's like, oh, you lost this. And Viper's like, oh, you lost this. And then Viper goes, I lost Hidden Cup, man. And he said it so sincere. And then there was an awkward silence for about 5 seconds immediately after he said that. And I got angry. I was like, Viper, why would you spoil that? There's so many people watching. Luckily, the Twitch chat, they didn't really make much of it. But I was really frustrated. And the whole event, I thought that was truth. So, like, there was one player I had pegged as the Viper in my mind, and I'm like, wow, there's an upset, like Viper's not going to win this. And then at the end, Viper came in to TeamSpeak, and it was the ultimate troll. It was really good.
Even when they came in TeamSpeak, didn't they come in the wrong name or something? So they looked like someone else?
Name down.
Yeah.
I'm too drunk. Yeah. It was well played.
I saw the same thing on 100% believed it as well. They did that so well. I was so sure. I even thought about messaging you at that very moment. And then I thought, maybe you didn't watch it and you need to cast those. So I should better not tell you. Sick.
There is a small issue to bring up with Hidden Cup 2. And it is that the Chinese players stream full time. And it's a big deal, as you know, Zach, with ECL, that they're able to stream their games. There was a concern with one of the Chinese players with that. And when he was approached, like mid-set, he said, if I can't stream it, I will not play. So it really sucks. And if they're getting $100 to $200, even if they lose the first round, that's probably not enough to cover up for the cost that they would, miss out on with, not streaming the event. So I still need to talk to players about that. Obviously, there could be more prize pools. There are a lot of things to be ironed out, but hopefully that's not a concern for Hidden Cup 2, because it could be.
Well, that's a huge spoiler risk there. And it would just, I know it would only be 2 players or 3 players, perhaps. I don't know how many Chinese players there will be, but that would be such a shame if they were to end up spoiling it just because they insist on streaming their POV.
Yeah.
And I think that's the reason why you put the prize pool in place, isn't it?
Correct. Yeah.
But yeah, that's a difficult one. It's always going to be a difficult one.
We'll figure that out, but it was just another thing that I thought of. But, again, the whole event was good. To actually promote an event like this after it was poorly promoted before, to improve upon the things that I can improve upon with my organization, my casting, my settings, it'll make it even better. So I'm excited.
Yeah. Cool. So, balancing.
Oh boy.
Oh
Are
boy.
we here to talk about towers, my friends? Because I'm ready.
Okay, well.
The topic number 1 right here. Primary suspect.
Well, I was joking because I'm known to not like towers. However, that is an interesting thing to talk about here, because the nerf that was made was to make towers cost 50 wood instead of 25 wood and 125 stone. And a lot of people, myself included, seem to think that while that might diminish the amount of towers that can be placed forward because of the cost, it does potentially hurt the defender more. And I don't know what you guys think about that, but it's something that's been brought up by some professional players.
By whom?
Hera, and I think both Canadians, but don't quote me on Slam.
I would be surprised, because the whole idea is the defender always has the better eco than the attacker with tower rush, because he has 6 aggressive villagers or however many he takes. That's why doubling the cost there means you need to send more villagers on wood, and your whole eco sacrifices if you're the tower rusher.
So again, this is something to discuss, right? I think, and this is from personal experience as well, because as you know, I always get towered. I have a reputation. Let's say, for example, you're going scouts, right? Well, you're often putting the wood you bring into farms, and so it can be complicated sometimes where you have to counter tower immediately, and you have 10, you have 20, you have 30, you have 40 wood. There's more moments where your defensive tower does not come up as quickly. I'm not saying that it still could be equal, and Miguel's in the Twitch chat seems to think it's equal, but it's something that, I don't know, could be discussed.
It's interesting. I mean, obviously, you've got the situation as well where the tower comes up on the wood line, and your villagers are sent from your wood, so then they're idling while they're transferring. You might not be on stone, so you build a mining camp, and then you're under a 50 wood, and you need to then start, then you've not got the wood, and then you're waiting for the wood to come in. And like you said, that's a window there where another tower could come up, and you don't have time to react. Who knows? But I can't speak too well on that, to be honest.
MBL says never. So Miguel in the chat says, it's worse for who's defending, in my opinion. MBL says, never had the problem to not have wood for my first tower. Well, you always have the wood for 10 spears in feudal age, MBL. So I'm kidding. Don't smurf me, okay? Don't smurf me.
Yeah, it's a difficult one to balance, though. And now, obviously, that puts Koreans in the position where they used to be played a lot, and now they're back to being trash again.
So as far as I know, when we started talking about balance, there's a balance group. And the first thing that was brought up was the range. And I believe that the stance is the range cannot be changed, because if it does, it affects every custom scenario in existence and breaks it. And so that's an understandable reason. So it's really tough, because you don't want to have defenders have less of a wood cost associated with their towers. You need the tower to cost the same, right? So I don't really see taking it back to 25 are still going to have the same problems. I think that just towers are very strong if you get them up in strategic positions. Just it is what it is, right?
I mean, we have to keep into consideration the hundreds of thousands of ancient tower defense players out there.
There's tons.
Obviously, you know, changing the range on their towers, it's going to mess up how far they can get in any tower defense game, not just ancient tower defense. But I mean, have you seen? There's a video on YouTube with like 200,000 views of that map. It's a
well,
it's played by at least 10 people, Tristan.
I know there's not a lot of scenario players out there, but I can tell you this, they are the loudest.
Yes,
so 100 angry CS people would be much louder than 1,000 angry RM people.
They'd come to your house. Don't
even try and go to those forums. You will not make it back.
No, I mean, obviously we're kidding, but like it's a point to consider, right? Like, what else can't you potentially change? What other effects will that have? This is a thing with balancing. As much as you can think about it, there's always going to be unintended consequences as well. Towers have always been a difficult one, and I think maybe it's not so much towers as also it is Koreans. Personally, I don't think that towers are that bad, but I think Koreans have been relied on as, okay, this is the tower rush civ. You know, there's a point in time where, okay, you get Koreans, I guess you're tower rushing. And when one person commits to a tower rush, the other person is kind of almost forced to do it as well, to maybe a lesser extent, but to at least keep up with the defensive towers. So maybe the Koreans need to be where the focus is and not specifically just the towers.
What do you think, Nili? I mean, I think towers have a place. Like they have to be in the game, right? If I was in control of everything and it was my say, even though I'm not a fan of towers, I say if we can't adjust the range, probably don't change them further. Are you in the same boat there, Nili, or do you think that there can be any more changes made to towers?
I would really love to see how much tower rushing is going on in the 1700s area. Because I feel the main problem with towers at the moment is that people became so good with quick gating and quick walling. So basically you see a tower is being built by 4 villagers, you pull 8 villagers, and he just quick walls so fast that you cannot access the tower anymore, he will always get the tower up. And then the tower rush keeps rolling. And that's one of the big problems, I feel. If you cannot wall in a tower, I think the towers isn't that efficient. So I think it's kind of a problem of, let's call the top 50 in the world that can like quick wall within like range of 2-3 tiles of seeing the enemy trying to storm your towers down. And that's why we see, it's so efficiently being used, because the usual I attack your tower and try to maybe counter tower doesn't really work that well.
So that's a very good point. Obviously, these tower rushes that Vivi does every single day, it's because he's skilled at it, right? As a counter argument to it, though, someone who's watched a lot of like 14, 15, 1600 recs to try and help people along, the problem with low-rated players is they freak out and overreact. So 2 towers go up, and they don't know what to do, and a lot more damage would be done because they don't know as the defender what to do. So they either underreact or overreact. And I think the best way to counter a tower rush is actually be somewhere in between and just stop it, right? And not overreact, which is hard to judge when you're a low-rated player.
Yeah.
Or they don't see it because of lack of scouting. Exactly. Yep.
It's difficult, though, because if you're balancing with the top levels in play or in mind, then again, the effect on the lower level players is going to be different in some cases as well. Yeah. So, but I mean, if you're going to balance the game, surely it makes sense to balance it around the top levels of play.
For sure.
Anyway, right? So I think what the 1600, 1700 players are doing is probably not as important when it comes to making balanced decisions. Maybe you disagree, but I think it's...
Sorry, Robo.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm trying to say. I think the problem is not the tower per se, but the possibility to just stop a whole army moving in by having one villager that builds a gate 3 tiles away.
Yeah, I think that's then not talking so much about towers as it is about quick walling in general. And I think that's especially now you can rotate the gates.
Yeah.
That's a huge thing, right?
So
because it wasn't before you couldn't rotate the gates. We didn't see that. Now rotatable gates are here. It's like, oh, we're just gonna do that and that and that, and we're fully walled.
So do we talk about gates next? Because
sadly, yes.
Seems like the transition. Gates, man, I'm so torn on the gate situation because there's some beautiful things you can do with them. Some amazing traps, some amazing saves. There's amazing highlights because of this rotatable gate. However, at the same time, it has to be said, for the cost, it is incredibly strong and game-changing. And so I personally believe that the gate should stay, but something has to be done with it. Either it has to be weaker when it's not fully built, or it has to cost more. That way, when someone is making them, there's more of a cost associated with it.
Pretty much. I mean, they're kind of weak anyway, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. They're fairly weak, but the fact is that you can place them at 3 tiles away, and they're just that much larger, right? Like one villager can do 3 times as much walling with gate than it can with 3 palisades in the same time. So, and it's less micro to, rotate 1 gate and cover 3 spots than it is to make a villager build 3 palisades. So, yeah, it's really tough because how do you balance it in that case? Because you can't make them so weak that they're completely ineffective.
Yeah. So the big one, and I know Nili probably has some thoughts. In AOC, before the Palisade gates were available, someone was Palisade walled, and then archers are coming into their base, or any units, normally archers, right? What they could do is they could build a gate to, I guess, perpendicular to the wall, and they could wall that from a couple tiles away. Now, in that instance, they invest into that stone gate, and they might keep themselves safe, but they can't go to multiple TCs in the next stage then without going to more stone. They might not be able to tower. So it was a huge, it affected the rest of the game in a big way. Whereas now you can do that with a Palisade gate. You could have no military and just save your ass with 20 wood, I think. And it's just, there's not a huge cost associated with it.
I agree. That's the huge thing about the stone gate, right? Like you could do it with stone gates, but the stone lost. That's something then that you have to consider, and it has impact on the rest of the game. You don't care if you place a Palisade gate and it goes down. It makes no difference to you.
Yeah.
I also suggested the idea of in our balancing Discord group to have the Palisade gate not 4x1 but only 3x1, which obviously shortens the quick wall, and it doesn't allow the archers to be blocked, because then with fletching they can always attack the villager quite easily. Problem is, every single scenario and every campaign needs to be reprogrammed then, so that's kind of impossible as well.
That would be a bigger hit. Sorry, CS players, but that would be a bigger hit to lose the campaigns there. Ideas that have been floated around are upping the wood cost, adding a stone cost, so make it 5 or 10 stone with the wood. But the problem with the second idea is that it's just not in line with how the rest of the game works. So I don't know the answer to this either. I think the cost needs to be changed. It probably will be changed, but who knows what it'll go to.
Yeah, make it so that the villager gets trapped in the gate after they built it and dies. You have to sacrifice the villager that builds it.
Yeah, Viper would still make 20 of them.
I just remember seeing this really ridiculous situation once where some cavalry were scouts were about to run in, and there was 6 gates within a few seconds just strung up, and that was completely walled. It was this huge flank, then it just got closed off almost instantly.
Yeah.
I'm torn because it's so cool. Sorry, Neil, go ahead.
MBL took me to the site during NAC, and that was kind of when the Viper got really creative with all his quick walls. And he told me Nili, that's not how Age of Empires works. If I find with my Feudal Age scout, a lonely villager, I want the kill. I don't want this villager to somehow be saved and quick wall himself in the open field. It just feels so unnatural.
That's true.
It's true. I mean, it's funny because it's MBL versus Viper, right? And Viper's obviously very good at it. But from a balance perspective, it is true. There have been instances where a unit should die but because of like boom, boom, 2 palisades or a gate, it can change the game for sure.
Yeah, I almost feel like the foundations, and this has been suggested, they just need to be weaker until it's fully built. I think it should be really like a lot weaker, and that way a villager can't just like wall itself in with 4 palisades to stop itself being killed by a wolf or something, right? Like, well, actually, that wouldn't work with a wolf because it would stay targeted on the villager. But if it was against a player, they could hit the foundation a couple of times and it could destroy it or something.
Yeah.
But then you have this whole discussion about whether or not quick walling should be in the game. And there's going to be a lot of people that say, yes, quick walling is fundamental. And a lot of people that say, no, you're going to make the game, I don't know, you're going to make the game easier to play. You're going to reduce the skill level, like with multi-queue,
People will always find a way to quick wall. My T90 series events, it's no wall mod. And people were walling with houses then and outposts for the 1 tile. So they'd quick wall with a house and an outpost. Like, they're going to find a way. It has to be part of the game. It's just a matter of how strong it can be.
Yeah. Maybe not giving back any resources if you cancel the walls. So it always costs 2 wood. It always costs 5 stone for the stone wall and palisade wall.
I say at least double the wood cost, because currently if it's 20, you could maybe make them only possible in feudal age, make them 40 wood, and then see how many people can build. Because if you need to build 3 gates for an elaborate trap, that's a lot of wood to have banked up.
Yeah, and it's about having it in the moment, isn't it? It's about, okay, I need it now. And when it's that cheap, okay, you're going to have it. So, I think that might be a good way to approach it as well.
I need to step away for 60 seconds, okay? I'll be right back.
Okay.
Hey, Siri, set a timer for 60 seconds.
No confirmation? Okay.
It's done. It's doing it.
But Zach, we have to pat ourselves on the back because there was no balancing group before we had Cision here. And we said, like, there are so many people with great ideas. And then we had the Discord group. And, like, I think, honestly, because of Talk of the Empire with Cision, we had 2 very good balance patches after that. It took some time, but a lot of clever people put a lot of thought into it.
And I don't think I need a pat on the back. I've hardly had.
I will give you one.
With the
you don't need one.
But thank you. I'll pat you on the back when I see you in February. But yeah, I think the balance discussions it's good to get more people involved. It's really important, especially with the group that we have now. There's a lot of respectable players in there. So I'm really happy that exists, and I hope we get more great balance patches. As for balance itself, I'm not that able to talk on it.
Oh, 61 seconds. That was solid. That was solid, Tristan.
Yeah, not too bad. Okay. I was just watching the timer go down.
Yeah, we heard it on stream. Tristan, that was really close.
Yeah. Were you guys doing a countdown? Did you not talk about balance?
No. We did a countdown with the whole chat.
Oh, man. I see chat said, wow, this is great. This is the best content Nili has ever had. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, might be true.
So
thanks, Mom.
Better than NAC, baby. Let's go. Okay, so while I was gone, I was thinking we should probably talk about 3 civs that were nerfed and then 3 civs that could possibly need a buff. That's probably the best way to do this.
Okay.
And
that's fine. There's too much to talk about otherwise. I think we need to keep it somewhat brief.
I'm not in charge here. It's just
so
an idea.
Everyone takes one. So I will take a civilization that needs a nerf, and I will say Koreans. They need something away from towers.
They need a nerf.
They need a nerf. Yeah. No, wait. They need a buff. I always confuse it. So a buff. Yeah. Okay. My bad. Okay. Koreans need a buff.
Low-hanging fruit, though, Nili. Low-hanging fruit here.
Aye. Okay. So Koreans, I think I would love something that keeps with their identity. Maybe archers, maybe something CG. I would love to see them have every unit cost 15% less wood.
I agree.
Okay.
Every one of you has to give a civ to buff.
I just got excited about Koreans for a second. I just want to make that clear. I just got excited about something related to the Korean Civ.
Yeah, I like that idea because then you could encourage more war wagon play, for example, which I think is a nice unit. It's I did some calculations a while back and looked at the stats of all the units for the amount that you pay for them, and Korean war wagons are extremely good for population efficiency. They're one of the most population efficient units in the game. Yet the Koreans so rarely get to the point where they're making war wagons in 1v1s because they're so expensive. You obviously need the castle, and before that happens, you've already had to build 500 towers, so you have no stone left for a castle anyway.
Yeah.
So I think Koreans buff definitely. I mean, we saw them buffed before, and then they got nerfed again because they were buffed in the wrong way. And I think taking a different approach entirely, just forget about towers, just buff something else. That's a good way to go.
You could potentially buff and nerf them, because I still feel like the additional range they get on their towers with the free tower upgrades is pretty extreme if you get there. So idea that's been tossed around has been to unlock those free upgrades behind a university. So they get to Castle Age, but they have to build a university before getting free guard tower.
Okay.
I mean, that is like, there's a paywall, right?
Kind of like with the Magyars needing the blacksmith for the free forging.
No, they don't need that.
Wait, no, they don't. Sorry, no, they used to need the blacksmith. They used to. Sorry, a better example. My bad. A better example would be market in order to get free cartography.
Yeah. I mean, that's the idea. And then I think that Nili's idea makes sense. A lot of people seem to agree, because what do they make? They make halberdiers, they make archers, they make siege, they make war wagons, all of which cost wood. So I would like that idea as well. Weaker towers and more fun units. I mean, what is there not to like, right? Sounds exciting.
Okay, so buffs. I think like Saracens, perhaps, because when they did the change to the camels, taking more damage from spears, like I feel like that. I mean, Saracens have never been in a great position anyway, I think. The thing is with Saracens, they're so good in team games. If you look at the Black Forest community, for example, you could see Saracens coming up there, but they're still outclassed by other civs. And I just think in general it wouldn't be a bad idea to buff them and see what we could do with that civ, because they don't see much competitive play. And even when we saw them in Battle of Africa, like Nili said before, how often did we actually see Mamluk, for example? Most of the time, it just didn't happen.
Yeah, I think that if you compare, I guess, AOC to now, they nerfed Mangadai and they nerfed Mamluk, two very strong, unique units. Mangadai, there's not many complaints over. They're still very strong, but Mamluks, you never see them, And Saracens didn't have a lot of... Well, they have a lot of options. It's just getting to those options, right? So I think with Saracens... just buff the Mamluks, really. They still have SO, they still have gunpowder, they still have ARB, they have everything except knights. So just give them a unique unit that actually works.
I think that's not really fixing the Saracen problem, though, because
I don't think it'll change much, but it'll be better, right?
Yeah, it would be better, but the problem with Saracens is that they are always behind when they get to Imp. So we need something that improves them before that. So we need a Feudal Age, Dark Age, or Castle Age advantage for them. Don't really see how improving your unique unit is helping you with the early stages.
I agree with that. I do think there are instances where civilizations are weaker in Feudal and Castle until they get to an Imperial Age spike, though. Like nowadays, for example, Mongols they kind of struggle in Castle, like Imperial Age transition, because they don't get plate barding on their cavalier and their camels, and they're trying to transition into Mangadai, which is very costly. So while Mongols do have the early feudal hunt bonus, which can be helpful in getting a lead, and Saracens don't have anything like that, I think that Saracens could use something like the Mamluk maybe to transition. So they just hold position and then transition to a strong unit and then push back an imp. Possibly, just a thought. Because otherwise it has to be an eco bonus.
Or a unit bonus. Like, I think they have rumored with like faster moving archers.
Well, See, my problem with that is you're looking at a civilization which is not necessarily an archer civ, and you want to give them faster moving archers. Saracens, again, they have almost a full tech tree. So to give them faster moving archers is like, it doesn't jump out at me because they're not classified as an archer civ. They're actually an archer and camel civ.
No, they're camel and naval.
Camel and naval, that's what it is.
They're great naval civ, but like for a camel civ, they don't feel like a camel civ, you know? You just don't see them played that way. Normally it's crossbow and arb, and then I mean, I feel like yes, let's see them become a camel civ. They used to be the best camels, have the best camels in the game, and now they're just overshadowed by the Indians
and Mayans and Berbers.
Yes.
Yeah.
So let's bring that back, perhaps. Let's bring the focus back to the camels, maybe.
Yeah, I think there's potential for the civ that people have yet to figure out. The market can be utilized more, but it's quite simply not a bonus that players should ever pick the civ for when there's so many other strong civs in the game. Okay, so on to me now with my buff. Vietnamese. It's a civ that I really want to like. The unique unit's fun. The elephants are kind of meh. The infantry's kind of meh. The siege is eh. They need something, you know. They need something more. And ideas that have been discussed have been husbandry. Husbandry is a big one. And then I think blast furnace because they lack blast furnace. And then siege ram. And I think all three of those would actually make them good. They'd be a bit stronger in team games because they'd have husbandry. They could maybe justify making those elephants. And a siege ram, I think, is the big one. Siege ram would really help the civilization. It's like Mayans, for example, with Rattan archers and siege ram, they could be really strong. And right now they just lack a real option or an opportunity to push.
Yeah, I completely agree. I love the idea of the Rattan archer, but I feel like the Rattan archer, in my opinion, it should beat the plumed archer. And the problem there is that because, like you said, they don't have the siege rams. If it was Mayans versus Vietnamese, first of all, you have the whole economy thing to consider, since the economy of the Vietnamese is outclassed by the Mayans. But if you were to isolate the military on its own, I think the Mayans would win that simply for the rams.
I remember a game. This was early escape, Zach. I was not casting it. It was a hideout game. It might have been Slam versus Viper, but I remember Slam had Rattan archers, and this was when pros were just trying out the expansions. These games were still played on HD, and I was freaking out. I was so excited. Slam was splitting with the Rattan archers, microing down plumes and stuff. And I don't know. I don't remember if he won or lost the game, but I was excited. I thought Vietnamese was going to be the next big thing, and nope.
I agree.
It has.
I had such more I had a bigger expectation for the Rattan archer, I think.
Yeah.
But
I think they're a bit slow as well. I feel like they could be faster, but that's not the main priority. I think you need to look at the other options they have. I'm looking at Nili's faces on the other monitor.
Yeah, it is tricky. It is tricky. Yeah. I don't think they're too bad in 1v1s because the archer bonus is helping you so much with the extra HP. They're pretty good if you get into late imp stage with Imperial skirms. They give you an undervalued team bonus of knowing where the enemy is, so you never lose your scout.
Yeah.
You can lane so much better. You can decide strategies so much earlier. And sometimes can read the maps better, for example, on migration or something. So I think giving them all three might be a bit too much. I don't mind them too much. They aren't a favorite civilization because they just have so bad cavalry, and you kind of want to have that option.
Yeah.
I don't mind them that much, but that might be just some weird personal preference. It feels every time I play against Vietnamese, I kind of already plan, okay, how do I get to mangonels the quickest?
Okay.
And
what's their monk tech tree like? Not very good, right?
mediocre. I believe.
Vietnamese monks.
Yeah, not very good. I'm just curious.
Oh, I should not have done that.
They don't miss too much, I think. Hold on. Let me check.
Well, when he brought up Maganel push, I was just thinking about.
They don't have redemption, so
No, yeah, lack of redemption is a big one.
Hmm.
So I agree with you, Nili. I think that it's maybe not as people aren't taking advantage of the laming bonus essentially as much as they could, and perhaps giving them 3 to 4 bonuses would be too much. But I think that something is needed there for sure.
Cool. So buff the Vietnamese, buff the Saracens, and buff the Koreans.
And nerf. So like, give them a bit of a new identity. That's needed.
Yeah.
Koreans probably is the worst civ to play with, to play against, to play with. The least fun. No one's really excited about Koreans at the moment.
That's true. Give them a makeover.
Yeah. There are a lot of people who absolutely love being that guy to choose Koreans and inflict that pain upon their opponents. So I don't know about everybody, but yeah.
Buffing?
But nothing?
Sorry, not buffing. I mean nerfing. We've done the buffing.
Yeah. So who started? Nili started last time. So Nili, what do you think?
Oh, you're giving me the first one twice. That's easy then. It feels like Mayans might be too good on way too many scenarios. Just think about it. How many maps? Mayans. Plumed archers.
Mayans. Okay.
Yeah. It just feels like they're so viable on so many different maps and so many different scenarios. Eagles feel very strong at the moment. Archers are pretty strong. Plumed archers are incredibly strong. They're so good at being slung. You can even have cheaper walls as a team bonus, which is good to be like the slinger as well in a team. I say they need a change, and I can't really say which one. Probably it has to be an eco change. There was an idea in the balance set that I really liked, but a lot of people hate it, is to take away BoA from them.
Whoa.
If we could make changes on the fly and just test things for a week and then change it back, I would want to try that, because their eco is insane right now. It's not just their options, it's their economy. It's the only civ in the game who can receive sling, be on 1 TC imp, and steamroll, right, with multiple castles with their own eco.
At 18 minutes.
Correct, yeah. I mean, I love the Mayans, and I think a lot of people do as well. And so people are hesitant to make changes because they love it. It's not like Koreans where they despise it. But yeah, I think it needs to be eco, because you can't ruin their identity and ruin the plume. You can make it more costly, but still. The Eagles are strong, the Halbs are strong, the Siege Ram is there. So I agree with Nili. I don't know what the eco change would be, and it might need to be drastic. But hey, remove BoA, see what happens, right?
That's an interesting one, though, I think, because, you know, their archers are cheaper, right? And the archers are, you know, it's wood. They need such a small wood economy. Yeah. Like, that's just I think that's a really interesting idea. And I think, like you said, if you could just try it out and just see what happens, that would be the best. But I don't know. I feel like maybe we need a system where we can actually just try things for 2 weeks and have players playing it and see what they feel. But because until they try it, they never know. I mean, you can talk this over all day, all night, and until you actually try it, you don't know.
The problem with that is you kind of need the top 50, top 100 players to test it. But for them to take away one, like, let's say 3-4 days of their normal training for ECL, KOTD coming up now, it's kind of tough for them to sacrifice as well, right? And they'll tell them, okay, now I will force you to play 3 days, Mayans without BoA, Vietnamese with Siege Ram, and Koreans with cheaper archers, and then we will change it back. It's tricky for them.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to say a civ that maybe needs a nerf, and I think Italians. And I'm thinking about that from a water perspective. Because right now, if you look at the water metagame in a 1v1, it's Italians every time. There's not even like the second options aren't really second options. They're just inferior. I think you could argue, oh, the Malay can work, or like I've heard that, but I've not seen it, and I'm still just seeing Italians every time.
I've seen
T90.
So I agree. I think Italians are very strong. However, Japanese currently, it's been picked recently, and I think that it's becoming one of the best 1v1 water civs, because with the nerf for the fire galleys on fishing ships, their fishing ships are incredibly strong, and I wish I could remember recent results, but I believe that I've seen Japanese win a few times. Now, do I think that Italians need a nerf? Possibly, but it's just a counter argument there.
Sure.
Your thought on that?
But I mean, yeah, Japanese, okay, yeah, they get stronger fishing ships, but it doesn't change the fact that the Italians are going to have the upper hand with the speed to feudal, and if you're playing for water dominance, that's pretty big, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe even more of the bigger issue there is the Vikings as well, only really being viable on water in team games now. Because of the lack of fire galley and
it depends, but less. They're not the sure pick anymore, for sure. Like, I feel like there's potential. There's potential to back dock with them, be a little bit more passive, open up with a demo or two, and then go into galleys. Or you could FC.
I think after we kind of included fire galley, we cannot say water maps anymore. We have to distinguish between short distance water maps and long distance water maps. Long distance water maps, Vikings number 1. Short distance water maps, Viking number 31.
Sorry, but there's only one water map that matters, and that's Baltic. So yeah, no, you've got a good point there. Actually, no, that's true.
Like migration or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I just wanted to throw that out there as a curveball, because I think we were just sort of kind of thinking land maps more than anything.
No. It's a good thing to discuss. Water in general. I mean, I'm not a fan of fire galleys for 1v1s, but I think water in general across the board is actually pretty good right now. Team games especially, I think, are more exciting than AOC water ever was. 1v1s, though, from a balance perspective, is something you look at more so. I really need to think. I should have gone first on this, Nili.
I had 3 options, but now I won't cheat and give you one.
Yeah.
Slavs.
I mean, so
Slavs.
Slavs is obvious, though. I have to mix it up, right? So Slavs, everyone knows, just nerf the farms. Okay, so that's almost cheating. I want to talk about Berbers a bit. I love Berbers, but I feel like their knights and camels are too cheap. I think. So I guess we'll do Slavs and Berbers. Lessen the discount, or increase the cost of their of their camels and their knights, and make their farms a bit weaker. What do you think on that one, guys? Lower to what is it currently? 15%? Lower to 5 or 10%?
Well, it's interesting with the Slavs, because originally the farm bonus didn't work. As it was intended, right? It was like it was supposed to be this farm bonus. It didn't work because farming was capped at a certain speed, and then they made it work, and it was like, oh, okay, now slabs are a thing. So they were pretty underwhelming before the farm bonus, and then after the farm bonus, they're great. I just worry if you nerf the farm bonus too much, they'll just fall back to being it's the slabs. Nothing too great there. I agree with the Berbers completely, though. Just increase the cost slightly on the camel and knight cost,
because it's a versatile civ. You have full upgrades on heavy camel and cavalier. You have the camel archer, which is a dynamic unique unit. They can fall off because they lack siege, like Mongols, for example. But I feel like it's, even if you increase the cost of the knights and camels, is still a great pick in any team game or 1v1. And currently their early castle age is just very, very strong, and perhaps a bit too strong. Nili's being very silent.
It is weird, because at the moment in Castle Age it's only 15%. Honestly, that doesn't feel that much to me. And I think it's a nice bonus. And yeah, obviously sling on them is pretty strong as well. Yeah. If we go to 10%, is it really making a difference? Like it's from 15 to 10. If we go to 5%, is it even a real bonus anymore? Like honestly, I didn't know that it was only 15%. I thought it was 20% and 25 for imp. But apparently 15% in castle. It felt more. So yeah, maybe 10% already, but that's a difference of what is 5% of 60? 3?
Nili math. Nili math.
Like 3 food difference.
Yeah. Well, it's about feel. That's the crazy thing, you know. It's about feel more than anything. Slav farms, we could see it now, obviously, but it just took time for players to realize how easy it was in comparison to other civs to do what they do. And I've heard from a few pros again in our balance group that Berbers could possibly use a slight discount. But as far as nerfs go across the board, I feel like there's a lot of small changes and a lot of small tweaks I'd like to make. Like Malians is another one, because Malians is a very versatile civilization with lots of options. Maybe make the wood discount on buildings a little bit less. Make them pay a little bit more to build every building they build. Is another one that came into my mind.
Yeah, it's just something I think and have thought for a long time. I feel like it would be more interesting if team bonuses played a bigger part in the game, because I think most of the time when players and teams are picking civs, it's more so for the individual civ merits and not necessarily what the team bonus brings to the table. I'd love to see it if civs were, I don't know, to maybe get a second team bonus just as an idea, and that could be a means to balance things as well, and to keep things fresh and interesting.
That would make
maybe
it fun.
That's too extreme.
It would be. I mean, I don't necessarily think it's extreme, but it's something to think about. Tell you what, something I didn't think of earlier when we were talking Saracens, faster moving archers was the idea that was pitched. They'll destroy your buildings in no time. Saracens and Mayans would be the most OP combo in the game.
I don't mind 2 team bonuses even.
Yeah,
it's definitely possible. Yeah. I guess the problem is if you're adding so many team bonuses, a lot of the bonuses are going to be duds. It's like unique technologies now. There's a lot of dud unique technologies. Don't even get me started.
Money, anyone?
Don't even get me started on boiling oil, man. Boiling oil.
Boiling oil. Jeez.
That will get a change, and they have good ideas.
That's going to get a change. Yeah.
That's why I joke about it so much. If I thought it was going to stay, I would not joke about it as much as I do now. I'd feel bad.
Yeah.
Paper money is OP when it's 7v1.
I still feel we have the best balance we ever had, and we're moving towards an even better balance. And I'm very happy what we're doing at the moment.
I agree.
Any last thoughts?
Summary.
Well, I mean, compare now to a few years ago when there were no real balance discussions. And if there were balance discussions, players weren't involved in it. Casters weren't involved in it. Now that's the case. So not only from a balance perspective are we in a good spot, but from a community perspective on balance, it's very good. So that's exciting for me. That's exciting.
Yeah.
I got asked why are Chinese so good now? They aren't. They are just good on KOTD Arabia. That's why they're played so much at the moment. Because you're spawning with the sheep under the TC.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which I want to include for NAC.
In certain situations. Oh, you do?
I think it makes sense. It's an unnecessary variance.
Yes.
I think ECL, I'm really surprised that ECL, after you asked that, like at the start of ECL, do we want to have sheep spawning under the TC? That not everyone voted for yes. Except MBL.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't think. Yeah, you're right. It is maybe an unnecessary variance, but I don't think it should ever be a situation where you can't find your sheep fast enough.
There
is a difference though, and from like a competitive perspective, there's no reason that a player should be at a slight disadvantage while doing nothing wrong because of the sheep spawn.
Yeah.
I think the conversation is, do we have 4 sheep right away for them, that's probably going to be no, because MBL would find the other 4 that the enemy had immediately. So so like I think 1 is probably the best solution, because you have 1 to start. It doesn't hurt your eco. You have plenty of time to find the surrounding 3 in that pack, and then you find the others. And I like that. I've been a bit critical of KUTD Arabia with other things, but the sheep or the goat is goat. It's great.
What if, instead of having it as like a pack of 3 and then 1 under the TC, what if those initial 3 were spread out more?
So you had more of an I never heard that. So you have more.
Yeah, like you'd have to scout for the other 3 properly, not just find them and then run off.
Well,
yeah, like all 3 same distance but not grouped.
Yeah, that's an interesting way of looking at it too. But
fine by me.
It's still the same in the end, because you have a sheep underneath your TC at the required time. True. That doesn't really change the result much.
Yeah, true. And I guess then, you say it buffs the Chinese, for example. They're guaranteed to get off to a good start.
Yeah. I think we should probably get into viewer numbers, but I had a game the other day. I keep forgetting about the free goat, and sometimes it hides underneath the awning of your TC, and I didn't realize it until after I had an awful start. Yeah, it was a fail moment. Nili fail. It was not good.
Just hiding under there.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's talk about viewer numbers then, I think, if you're happy to go on, Nili.
I am.
Great.
So, viewer numbers. I have a lot of pictures prepared now. We can all agree, Age of Empires blew up incredibly. Like, I remember what I had as my goals when it comes to viewers, views on my channel, subscriber numbers, donations at the end of the year, and I kind of exceeded everything. And I know that Escape is doing pretty well. The Viper has stable income, and T90 is probably #1 and exploding here. Tristan,
do you want to
okay, yeah, that wasn't really a question. That was just someone could jump on it. Yeah, Nili, that's right.
What if I was like, hell yeah, I am. What if I did that? That would be so awkward. I thought that was the best.
Okay.
Yeah, man. I mean, geez, so I have this feelsy speech prepared for my 24-hour stream on Saturday, and when I talk about these things, it really gets me emotional, because it has been crazy, not just for me, but for everybody in this game, which deserves these numbers. Whether you like me or don't like me or don't like any of us, you can respect the game if you're here, and the game deserves this. And so to play a part in that personally is just really emotional. But yeah, man, it's been crazy. I think we just leave it at that. For everybody, but it's just been a wild year.
Yeah. This year's been huge, really. I mean, the viewer numbers across the board have, in some cases, I think nearly doubling from last year. Obviously, just the global audience for the game is growing, and the fact that it's growing this year, that's interesting to me, because I don't think anything significant has really happened this year officially. We've had great events, and we've had great content creators, and that's, in my opinion, what is really driving the growth. And that is really that's more valuable than anything that Microsoft could do in terms of releasing Age of Empires 2 DE, because that's real growth, that's community growth, and those people are going to stick around. You know, so that's awesome, and I really hope we see that level of growth in 2019 as well, which I'm sure we will, because we're building up now with yourself. You're getting more influence in terms of how many people you reach, and if those people stick around, then you're going to be like a glue trap. It's a terrible example.
Is that the first thing? Is that the first thing you thought of?
Yes. You're gonna be a glue trap, Tristan. And when those definitive edition hordes come pouring into the game, they're gonna stick to you.
That's I call a Force Nothing a glue trap right there. You get stuck in that game for 5 hours when you load it up. I see A28 in the chat, but yeah, I mean, we're in a unique situation where we have a lot of people coming into the game, and we're finally at a spot now where the community is taking advantage of it. Microsoft is investing into the game. Players are getting more support than ever.
Yeah.
And so, you know, again, it's awesome to see how we've got here, because no one would have ever expected we'd be here because of the lack of engagement from Microsoft in the past.
Yeah.
Like, it's been purely, I mean, I'd say spirit of the law, yourself, Zach, because a lot of people would have never found the game back in the HD. Well, you were the glue trap of HD days, I guess, right?
So, back 2 years ago, let's say.
So like Zach, Spirit of the Law, Viper, myself. Then who would be? Is there like a really high, solid fifth? I don't want to be disrespectful to anyone here. I mean, I'm thinking
for the Germans, Rocket Beans.
Rocket Beans, yeah, Rocket Beans was huge, especially here on Twitch, man. Because like for my community, a lot of people come from YouTube to Twitch, but Rocket Beans has been huge. You have other two big ones is Mario's doing well. He's closing in on 100K YouTube subs. I wish I could understand Spanish so I could understand the guy. He's fantastic. And then Tato as well. Tato has 30-ish, and I think on YouTube 30K, and is streaming in English and Spanish. So again, I don't Res 22. There's different time periods, right? So you know. I don't mean to be disrespectful to anyone. I was just thinking of the top people, but it's been purely content creators, and I'm blessed to have had a hand in that. I'm sure Nili feels the same, and Zach feels the same.
Yeah, but
yeah, definitely. And I think. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, you always give way to me. I feel like I'm talking over you. You should just talk sometimes, Nili. Go on, say what you were going to say.
I want to go to the slides now. So you can go for them.
Okay,
so I have the numbers prepared. I collected some players. This is the Viper of this year. So average viewers is pretty damn high for him. And incredible amount of total views. Highest viewers, I'm not really sure what happened there. I think that was part of his 24-hour stream. Then we had the MEM development, that is 2017 for him, with average 212, viewer high, that was KOTD. And then viewer high wasn't that impressive because, well, Battle of Africa happened on so many others, but he increased a solid 30% or something in 1 year. For everyone who's in the business world, improving 30% in 1 year is pretty out of this world. Then let's take a look at Escape Gaming. In 2017, that was probably Battle of Anchor. Yeah, and compare that with Escape AoE in 2018. It's a solid 50% there on followers. Again, very high. Highest viewers. Then who else do we have? We have Nili 2017. That's obviously like because I went full time from 17 to 18 as well. And NAC happened for me, so I had like, simply when it comes to like viewer and follower numbers, that's just super sick for me. And obviously the guy with like the most hours and the highest viewer numbers is with the increase T90 for sure, 30K followers, and that's also without YouTube. If we take a look at YouTube, where Tristan obviously made an incredible growth as well, Viper broke big numbers. We had Tristan here, as you can see, 6K viewers with his Hidden Cup. It's just, we are big now. This just has been, honestly, as I like kind of said in the intro, it has been a year that no one really expected.
Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, it's nearly like between 30 and 100% growth for some channels in a year. Like, as you said, in the business world, that would be huge. And that's just what just happened this year. I mean, where are we going to go next year with I assume the release of DE next year. I mean, it has to be next year, surely. It can only be bigger, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. So when I went full time, it was November of last year, and I went full time not necessarily because I felt like I was in a position to do it safely, but because that DE was coming up, and I wanted to get momentum going into that. And nobody expected the community to be where it is now. It's crazy. This is honestly past where I thought we would be with DE.
Oh, really?
You know, like I was thinking, at least from a personal standpoint, I was thinking, because the last 6 months I've had probably 13, 14, 1,500 viewer average. I was thinking that's maximum after DE and AoE4. And here, this is all before it. So I think that the whole community is going to profit. Yeah, I mean, not much else I can say beyond that. It's pretty mind-blowing.
How many subs are you at the moment?
I 3,000 Twitch.
Sick.
I think.
Sick. Just
it
think
goes up
about
and
it.
down.
Like when was the Nations Cup final, or no, the Clan Masters final showdown? Was it late 2015?
Yeah.
I think
so.
the viewer high ever was suddenly Viper broke 1K viewers.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, oh, Age of Empires is so alive.
Yeah.
And now, if Tristan was to stream a tournament that included Viper, it's like no one would expect to only have 1,000 viewers. That's like if you like early game one if you didn't do any promotion.
I would be really worried if that was the case, for sure. So Nili's growth really stands out to me. Did your follower count double, Nili? I don't have. I guess
the average viewers did as well.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of good things for everybody. This community has really benefited all around. What was I going to say? Yeah, I mean, to go from even in the last, and again, I'm not trying to be conceited talking about myself, but in terms of growth, I've gone from, I think, 55,000 YouTube subscribers to 93, 94,000 in almost 4 months, 4 to 5.
Sick.
It's been crazy. Yeah. So
you had a really big month though. Was it last month? That was just like somehow I don't know what happened, but it was like
I went away.
You went up for like 20K subs in a month or something crazy. I don't know. How it's weird, isn't it? How YouTube works. I don't think either of us truly understand it. I know that we both had crazy videos that have just exploded, and you can't really. There's no rhyme or reason to it. It just some videos just blow up and some don't.
It's random. There's a video from Nili KO. Is it CO Clash of the Hippo? There we go. Clash of the Hippo, Viper Tato, and it is currently attached to a video that I have, Nili. I don't know if you've noticed, but I've watched every time I go to the video to look at like a comment or something, right? Which I don't do too frequently. But anyway, your video is currently recommended after, and last I checked, that's at 80,000 views. So and I think that like some of my videos have stemmed from Spirit of the Laws. It just goes all around. That's just how it works. So it's a bit frustrating as a content creator because I wish I had more control over it, and I'm sure everyone else does too. Because if there was a magic ingredient, then everyone would realize that and try and replicate that. But it's not really the way YouTube works, and I don't think that's an Age of Empires thing. That's a YouTube thing, and some communities don't benefit from that type of a system, but Age of Empires 2 has.
Yeah, I'd say so. I'd say so. I mean, it's like one video gets big and it reaches new people.
Yeah.
And then those new people start watching the videos that follow, and those videos that follow don't necessarily have to be from the one channel. They can be any of the bigger videos that have made it through, from Spirit of the Lord, yourself, to Nili, to Viper, to myself. There's more content creators now, and that's good because there's more chance to have a big hit, let's say, that can expose more people to the community.
Yeah, like for me, like my highest watch video had like 1,500. And then I had Nili against Marco from Rocket Beans. And that in the title. And that was apparently linked to a Rocket Beans episode. And I had suddenly 60K in 3 days. I just had like, that's 40 times as much as my second highest video.
Yeah, crazy.
Nili, if you had to say, if you had to choose a pivotal moment in your growth, would it be that? like the inclusion of rocket beans?
I think NAC was more percentage-wise, but rocket beans, like, I'm not sure. Well, I had 4 visits there. That is really nice for me, and for me, it's kind of nice because I have a monopoly in the German market. So even if, let's say, T90 takes 90% of all viewers, because obviously the biggest grow bigger, and I have no idea why, but I won't find a spot at Escape. I still feel like the monopoly in Germany gives me a good spot for whatever comes in the future.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I've really enjoyed seeing your growth in the German community, man. Like, your Germonday is really successful. What's cool about that is you're playing oftentimes as well. And I think that's the hardest thing, is to bring new people into a community and have them invested into watching someone play, especially when you're not a top 4 player. No offense, you're obviously very good, but you know, Viper is watched because he's Viper, right?
Yeah,
so
he's the
and
best.
he has the name as the best player.
Mm-hmm.
There's other reasons Viper's watched as well, of course. He's very entertaining, but so yeah, I mean, you did a great job there. I don't think it's any surprise that mine had something to do with a bunch of trees, which I'm not too proud of. I mean, I wish it was a cast, you know, like, oh, it was. I wish it was the Gold Rush game we casted, Nili, the Mr. Yo and Viper Gold Rush game, something like that. I wish that would have grown my channel, but no, it was Force Nothing, and it's different for everybody. Zach is.
I have no words for this game.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that one was a big one. No, mine has always been, mine's the fast casual tutorial. And, you know, that made me laugh when we were at TwitchCon. I got to tell this story. So, you, Tristan, were invited to go to a breakfast at the Marriott Hotel, where this game company was essentially doing like a preview for their new release. And they booked out one of the conference rooms, and they were doing a breakfast there. And Tristan got a call from the guy who invited him, and you asked if I could go along with you. He was like, "Is it all right if I bring my friend?" And he was like, "Yeah, sure, you can bring a friend." So we went over there, and the guy, he was a fan of you, right? And he was like, "Oh, Tristan, it's great to meet you. You know, help yourself to breakfast, enjoy the bacon, eggs, whatever. You know, great to meet you." And then, because I was wearing my TwitchCon tag, he's like, "Oh, and who's your friend?" And he looked at my name. It was like Zero Empires. I've heard that name. Oh, it's the Fast Castle tutorial guy. I was like, God damn it. Like, everybody. It's the Fast Castle tutorial. That's the thing.
So,
but yeah, it's everywhere. But I don't know. I mean, I kind of stepped back from being my own individual and streaming for myself. And that's changed the way that things work out for me, I suppose. But I think had I continued streaming on my own channel, then it would have been probably the I have no words for this game, because like you said, and I think a lot of people don't consider this, the YouTube growth is really what drives the Twitch growth. In a lot of, in maybe not now so much, but in the earlier days, definitely.
Can I tell a TwitchCon story real quick that I've always wanted to bring up on air with Zach? Okay. So this is a pretty short story, but Zach doesn't know that I know this. So
sounds like a good one.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So again, this is kind of unrelated to AoE2. I was in California at TwitchCon with Zach and one of my best friends, who knows nothing about games, and we had a really good time. Like, Zach and my friend's name is Hanlon are still in communication as far as I know.
Yeah, we chat.
So there was a TwitchCon party, and there's lots of drinks, and we're having fun. It was great. Next day, my friends and I end up going elsewhere in California to enjoy our trip. And my friend goes, "Hey, I want to tell you something Zach said about you." And he starts dying laughing. I'm like, "Wait a second. I thought Zach was going to make fun of my content, you know, and I figured that would be that." Well, apparently, there was an area where people were dancing, and Zach goes, I don't know exactly how it went, but apparently Zach goes, you have to have hips to dance. If there's anyone that doesn't have hips, it is T90. So thank you, Zach. Thank you for poisoning my friend's mind with those lies. I do have hips. I was like, what? God. He never saw me dance. Where'd he get this info from? Do you remember saying that?
I don't remember. I just remember there was a free bar. And
yeah. Free
that's
drink,
it. We went into the place. It was a free bar, and that's the last thing I know.
No, you weren't wrong. So your drunk assessment of me was correct. But yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah. We had a good time, actually. TwitchCon was really good.
I
enjoyed it.
Yeah.
There's a TwitchCon in Europe next year.
Yeah,
Germany.
All right.
Cool. Well, we'll see more about that near the time, I guess. I hope there's some Age of Empires stuff happening there, since the Age of Empires community, it's weird because there are so many American viewers, but the community seems very Eurocentric.
Yeah, it is certainly shifted. I think that the wave of growth has come more so from North America. And I think the base we started from was, at least from a viewer standpoint, was very European. Even the player base, there's a higher percentage of top European players. So I think it's evening out a little bit. I don't have any figures to back that up, but
no, you're probably not far off. I mean, the USA has always had the largest percentage of the pie in terms of viewership, but you know, the population of Europe is split among many countries. So it's like USA at the top, but then it's Germany, UK, Netherlands, other European countries. I can't think of what order they're in. But basically what I'm trying to say is it's split among more players, more countries. But I do think that the US viewership is probably increasing.
Mm-hmm. Sweet. Well,
just waiting for more top US players.
Don't look at me, man.
No, I'm going to be that skeleton on the bench by the time that happens. But let's move on to AoE 1DE.
Yeah, maybe we should have discussed if we even want to include that topic. A lot of hype, a lot of hope for a lot of people. I never played it. There weren't any big tournaments. A lot of people were really disappointed. What's your view? Tristan.
Thank you. I'm never sure who you're talking to. I just watched Zach to see if he thinks of something. Okay, so AoE 1 is not big for me either. I was never really into it, so I can't give a proper give proper feedback on it. I downloaded the game, told my community I was going to make content, and then uninstalled the game after about an hour because I just couldn't get into it. I just don't have a passion for it. However, I have talked to many people who do have a passion for it, and the launch was apparently bad. Apparently it's buggy. Nili said there was a lot of hype surrounding it. I think there was hype surrounding it for people who knew, but I think that more people could have known about it. They could have generated additional hype, which they did not do. So overall, it kind of left a sour taste in my mouth.
Okay. I think that's completely reasonable. From your perspective, yeah, I think that's probably a lot of people's perspective. I tell you, I have a little, maybe, I don't know if it's inside knowledge, but I maybe have a different view on it. But I do absolutely agree. The launch was a bit disappointing. And I am totally aligned with you, Tristan, on the fact that I've never really been into AoE 1. And so the remaster, I didn't really have a passion for AoE 1, so I'm not just suddenly going to get a passion for the remaster. So I perhaps couldn't appreciate the remaster as much as someone who had a passion for AoE 1. So I know that there was a Vietnamese tournament, and apparently it did really well, and that was in AoE2 DE. And I think even Bact and ACCM were involved in that. I think there was some pictures of them. I put together their VNA logo, and they had some T-shirts printed with the VNA logo on that I put together, and I saw a picture of them together all wearing the T-shirt, which was pretty
that's cool.
Yeah, it was nice. But I think the Vietnamese community is perhaps looking at it a bit more positively But as far as I'm aware, AoE 1 DE still doesn't have an elo system or a ranking system.
What?
Correct me if I'm wrong, chat. But when I played it, it didn't. And I've never played AoE 1 in my life. And I go online and I win every single game because I have a little bit of RTS knowledge.
No.
And there was no way for me to find players that I could be evenly matched with. So again, like you, I uninstalled it very shortly after.
So does that mean that, because I know the Vietnamese community is actually much larger than you would think. As far as total views go on YouTube videos, I think that AoE 1 beats AoE 2, at least comparing the top YouTubers, because of this one channel, I forget what it's called. It's like
Vietnam Game TV.
Yeah. It's nuts. I couldn't believe it. So does that mean that those people, those mainly Vietnamese players, are in a Voobly situation where they're not using DE and they're using the older version? Because the ELO system doesn't work on DE, so I don't see them using that. Yeah, I mean,
I think some of them are using DE, and apparently it's received quite well over there.
Okay.
But I can't see how the game is going to succeed without an ELO system.
Yeah.
In general, but then again, I don't know. I don't know what the goals of AoE 1 DE were. I mean, if you're Microsoft and you're putting together this plan for AoE 1, 2, 3 DE, then AoE 4, you'd think that the plan would be to blow everyone away and amaze everyone and win the hearts of the community so that AoE 4 is just, a huge success.
I think so. I'm not a big fan of making excuses for companies, especially big money companies. Like when HD was having its troubles, I quickly stopped making excuses for them because I think we need to hold companies accountable, right? However, here's an excuse. It would make sense with such a thriving AoE2 community right now for Microsoft to prioritize DE. We hope DE2. We hope that they would prioritize DE2, and that, especially after now seeing how DE1 was received, that they could improve upon that. So that's the hope. Unfortunately, there's no real information to back that up. So yeah, I'd say like disappointment with DE1, but hopefully with DE2, they'll have prioritized it more and learned lessons.
Well, AoE2 DE, I hope for the same, really. Yeah. I think if anything, that's going to be the one that gets the most attention and the most budget, let's say, just because AoE2 is probably the larger or the biggest game anyway. Yeah. I hope that they don't release it exclusively on the Windows Store. That absolutely gimped the first release. That just cannot be a good way to do it. If I don't know. I really hope it's not going to be on Windows Store. I really hope that AoE2 DE will check a few boxes and bring. And I don't want to say what those things are. Obviously, some of us are privy to more information, and at the end of the day, I'm positive AoE2 DE. I think it will be approached differently to AoE1 DE, but ultimately, the biggest thing that I can hope from AoE2 DE is that it doesn't split the community down further, and it actually helps to unite the community onto one place. In my dream scenario, AoE2 DE is so good that everybody plays there. Everyone. Yeah. And that should be how it goes. And that should be beneficial for everyone. But that's the dream scenario. It's never going to work out as cleanly as that.
Yeah, I am more positive for DE2 based off conversations I have had and how things have gone so far. Again, that's very vague, but I'm more positive for DE2 than I ever thought I would be. I am more positive for DE2 than I ever was about HD. So there's that.
Yeah. Nili?
I was super positive about HD before release. So I was super hyped for AoE2 HD.
But it's different now, isn't it? AoE2 HD was just a dry release, right? They just went in and dropped it. It's like, hey, here's a steaming pile of shit. Enjoy. Now it's like, okay, we're actually going to involve the community and we're actually going to torch the community. Yeah. And that way, hopefully, they make AoE2 DE what HD should have been.
And we kind of are throwing a 1-year Microsoft sponsored tournament to give you some treats before we throw down the $1 million tournament with DE.
Oh yeah, the $1 million tournament that's coming after DE. Can't wait for that
Hong Kong
one.
dollar.
Yeah.
Zimbabwe dollars. 350.
Yeah, so
All right.
I guess it's all speculation. But even if AoE2 DE is the biggest steaming pile of shit you've ever seen, the community will actually grow in numbers.
Yeah,
right?
ultimately.
So there is that. I mean, even if 3 years from now we're in this situation where we have HD, you have the Voobly compatibility patch, and then you have the DE2 to Voobly compatibility patch. Like even if we are there, I mean, that makes me shudder, but maybe we'll be there, right? If that's the case, the community will be even bigger than it is now. And you know, as I said earlier, we are in a place as a community which is larger than I ever expected, even with DE. So the sky is really the limit, and it's exciting stuff.
Tristan, we have more glue traps now than we did when HD came out.
This is
so
true.
Hopefully we will stick more newbies and get them involved. Because I think that's another thing. I always think about this. It keeps me up at night. I think, what if HD was good? Where would we be now?
Oh my God.
Oh yeah.
Like how many? Like I think over 5 million people have that game on their Steam account.
I think it's
maybe even
10.
6 now. Oh, is it? Okay, I'm not sure. But if how many people left the game and dropped the game because when they bought it on release, which is going to be the biggest portion of the sales, it was so bad that they just dropped it and never went back again. You know.
Yep.
Anyway. Future of AoE2, anyone?
I already changed the red dot. I thought we were talking about it.
Yeah, we're on it. We're on it. Okay,
Right.
sorry. I thought we were still in the DE thing, but yeah, cool.
Well,
that's fair.
I mean, the future is DE, right? So, as I said, you know, I think the future is very bright. I don't see the community really dropping off in support and numbers. I think it'll only get better for the players, the streamers, the YouTubers, the people who are just playing even at a casual level. Like literally everyone should benefit. And that's quite obvious from the past year and a half of growth as we saw earlier. Yeah. But who knows, man? Who knows? We have no clue.
Escape has a really big project, which I'm not going to talk about.
There it is. I knew
it had to happen, didn't it? It had to happen. But we're doing stuff. We're doing stuff. I mean, ECL is sort of.
Is that related to the January event? Will you announce something there?
Well,
the thing I see at AoE zone calendar.
Oh, the AoE zone calendar. Yeah, that was a funny drama topic, wasn't it? God, you gotta love it.
Should we delete that?
Look at this. Shameless.
I know. Yeah, we're gonna do some cool stuff, and I mean, basically, all I'll say is that our goal with Escape Gaming and with our project next year is to build something that benefits the community in a way that can't be achieved any other way. Like, you can organize your hidden cup, and that's going to have a great impact. And Nili can organize his NAC, and that's going to have a great impact. But there's going to come a point where individuals will not be able to handle the organization of, let's say, $1 million tournament. And unlike when you said $7,000 earlier, I don't actually mean $1 million is coming. But like, let's just say we had $1 million landed in our lap, and we said, "Hey, here's $1 million. You're doing a tournament with this." We don't have the infrastructure. We don't have the means to actually do that ourselves. Then what we want to do is build this up so that we actually can, and we could be ready for bigger events that require more manpower and can, in the end, do things that just isn't possible to achieve alone. And there you go. That's the goal, the vision, the dream.
Okay, make sure to go on Reddit and AoE Zone, talk about the $1 million tournament that just was confirmed.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, Zach. We are having the day the 20th of December 2019. We're having Talk of the Empire episode number 30. We have Tristan here
right.
with 6,500 subscribers. Okay. What are our topics at the site?
T90 just bought a new Audi R8. I don't know. I think we'd probably be talking about bigger like LAN events. I think if the game is at that point, at that size, I think we're looking at it becoming more real. I think something that is really important for the community growth is to step out of just being sat in front of your computer and existing in an online world to existing in a real world and actually having physical meetups and things like that. And a trend that I've noticed in the last 2 years is the frequency of meetups and the number of people attending meetups is increasing. And I think that's nice. I like that a lot. And to me, that's something that I really value.
I would never buy an Audi, first of all.
What would you buy, though, if you could have any car?
I'm not
a car guy.
I don't know. I'd get like a reliable vehicle, good gas mileage. Like I don't need anything crazy to live my life. I would buy another PC so my Age of Empires 2 DE quality would be better. That's what I would do. But
okay, you wouldn't get a Shelby Cobra.
No, I'm a very simple man. Geez, well, communities are going to be much bigger. Now, this is an extreme hypothetical, and I don't think this will be at the end of next year. But what if $1 million falls into Microsoft's lap or Escape's lap, and there's so much money involved that we have there's so much money involved that other RTS experts come to age, and Viper becomes a commentator because he can't keep up.
They're taking our gerbs.
Obviously in a whole
all the StarCraft 2 refugees coming over here. No, look, I think that would be amazing for the game if we had more competition at high levels. You know, that would just be incredible. I mean, Viper is already transitioning into full-time casting anyway, so he's prepared for every eventuality.
He's top 20 guys, top 20, top 20 caster.
Yeah, that's the normal way, right? If you can't succeed as a player, you become a caster, and if you can't succeed as a caster, you become a tournament host.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, like I mean, it's true. I think a lot of other esports have former pro players or guys who just weren't quite good enough to cut it consistently as commentators. So, no offense to Nili, Heresy has a chance. But anyway, what do you think, Nili?
Heresy won't make it to the offline finals, if that was your question.
Whoa, bold prediction. That's a Viper prediction.
So bold.
I think the red side will have ECL 2, whatever that is. Obviously NAC 2, Hidden Cup 2. I think we won't talk about viewer numbers. I think there will be some drama included, like why does Bill Gates hate Zero Empires?
Ooh.
No, I think we will get a bit further away from talking about us and more talking about kind of the hero players. It will be more like, okay, can the Coven Viper team finally beat Flash and Spawn or whatever, whoever comes over, no idea.
Okay.
And I think we will have more discussion. I think we will, like, I think this kind of a talk show, like talking really with the hosts and organizers of tournaments, won't be something we will do in the very future. I think we will go more into real analytics of how the tournaments were.
Yeah, that's fair.
I mean, that, again, we're at a point where we started off, we're all individuals, really. And now there's organization that's been brought into it, but we're not at a sustainable esport phase when it comes from the organizational standpoint. So if Zach follows through with his $1 million prize pool that Escape will organize, then we'll be living the dream. We'll be where we want to be at that point. But I agree with Nili. I think that the community is built up by individuals right now, but it will become less about the individuals, especially from a caster's perspective, but more so about the ongoing events. And there will just be, so much more to talk about.
I mean, I think individuals and individuality is important no matter what.
Yeah.
But I think like we want the game to go from being the Wild West to becoming, civilized society where we have, structure in place, basically.
Maybe Microsoft is becoming a part of the Woobly store.
The Woobly
store?
And you can buy like versions of Microsoft in the Woobly store.
Man. There you go.
Everything switches in 1 year.
But I do think, and someone in the Twitch chat said it, I think that what Nili said is probably 2 years out. Because DE, I'm going to just go out on a limb here and say that DE2 will probably be announced at the LAN for Escape. That's just a guess. But let's say it is, which would be August, right?
Yeah, summer 2019. Yeah, August.
And, December of next year will be 3 or 4 months in, and it'll be kind of hard to tell what the new future is. But hey, I mean, I wouldn't complain, of course. That's a lot of growth to happen in a year. Could happen.
Yeah. I sitting here knowing some stuff and not being able to talk about it,
Why?
It's like, yeah.
You already said that there's $1 million prize pool tournament coming. So now you can tell us the rest as well.
Spill all of the beans. No, I can't. But basically, next year, just more growth in general. And I think, like you said, Tristan, we'll obviously see I'd say obviously, I hope we see the launch of a unified community through DE, because that, in my opinion, would be the best outcome of DE. Just because I think one of the big issues is communication of reaching new people, right? Like if you look at the number of people playing the HD edition, it's actually grown in the last months, and right now it's very high. But how do we reach those players? I feel like the players on HD, they play with their friends, and then they play something else, and they never really get integrated, or maybe they're never even aware that there is a community or that the game is played competitively. And so if DE could do something to introduce those people, and just if they're made aware that, hey, there's a wider community, and you can actually watch this competitively, or you can go to forums and talk with people about the game, I think that would be good. And I think that's something that HD lacks right now, and they struggle with right now, reaching those people that are out there, they are playing the game, but they're not in the community, or even aware that this exists.
Yeah.
Good start is that they put Hidden Cup, I think even KOTD, I'm not sure, at least Hidden Cup, ECL, and NAC at their launcher. When you launched AoE2 HD, that they showed Hidden Cup is going on this weekend. Tune in.
The communication between streamers and YouTubers or community members and those who are influencing the game, like Microsoft, Forgotten Empires, that communication is closer than it's ever been all around the board, I'd say. So I've seen multiple examples of that, so it's a very good sign.
Yeah. Awesome. Well,
time for
I think
question
that
and
nearly
answer,
wraps
right?
things up from our side. Yeah, I was going to say, like, we've gone through all of our topics.
Yeah.
So we can, I'd say, I know 15 minutes of questions and answers.
Yeah, whenever you feel like wrapping up.
Well, I have to drive tomorrow morning, and I'm gonna go fairly soon. But we can do more questions and answers for a bit.
Yeah,
so
Tristan has a busy day tomorrow and on Saturday as well. So he needs to go to sleep pretty soon as well.
The next 4 days for AoE2 is going to be pretty sick. Tomorrow, the World Cup final between Finland and China. I think most people are casting that. You're casting that, right, Nili?
Yes.
Yeah, so Nili, Mem, I don't have the whole list, but that'll be an awesome set of games.
Yeah, not the best time, 14 GMT.
Oh, I haven't signed up to cast it, but yeah, I'll be there. Myself, Nili, Memb, and Yupe are signed up currently. And then on Saturday, we have ECL, of course. So we have the semifinals and the finals of the, is it East Asia stage? I think it's East Asia
semifinal, grand final. Yeah, for the 2v2.
And, again, many people streaming that. The same day, unfortunately, I'll be missing ECL because I'll have a 24-hour stream. So lots of different things going on there. The biggest one that probably appeal to the audience here right now is that Vivi and Leary will be playing a 7-game set for $700. So that will be fun. Spirit of the Law will be stopping by, actually. That'll be cool, too. And then Sunday, something's going on Sunday as well. Wanted to make sure I brought it up.
The Norway against Vietnam fight for the bronze match in the 2v2 World Cup.
Yeah.
13 GMT there.
Gluttony's going to carry. I can feel it.
So
I shifted away from questions, sorry.
You mentioned that, Friday 14 GMT for the grand final of the World Cup, not a good time. How do we feel about that? It's live though.
So I understand the appeal of live games. However, I've done enough live sets to know that there's way too much downtime in between games sometimes. So I feel like maybe not for finals, like semifinals and finals, ideally they might be live, but I don't see an issue with doing recorded games if they're not spoilered. Because ECL is a good example. The games are back to back. The casters and the viewers don't have to wait. It's not lobby simulator. So I guess that's what you're kind of getting at there, Zach, on the whole recorded games thing. Yeah,
I mean, it's more of like it's a Friday at 14 GMT, which means for the US on the West Coast, you're not watching that.
Yeah,
probably. And I imagine South America might not have so many viewers for that reason as well. Especially if people have to work. Europeans working till 5 p.m. will miss quite a bit of that as well. So, how do we get around that? It's not straightforward. I just wanted to bring up the point that it's going to be live, but it could have been at a better time. That's all.
I think that the event itself is really exciting. I would really like to see Finland get the win because they come so close and have shown so much potential in these big tournaments. Obviously, I mean, China, Yo's been in tournament finals before, but I don't know. I am kind of rooting for Finland. They're rooting for who I consider is the underdog.
Cool. Well, guys, I'm going to head off because I do need to chill out a bit before I head to bed here. I got to get up early tomorrow. But last Talk of the Empire of the year. We didn't do that many, did we, Nili? But it's always a pleasure, and it's nice to have a different guest on each time. Great to talk to you as well, T90. I think it made sense to have you on the show today. Obviously, a really influential person and huge growth this year as well. So that's awesome. And I hope that 2019 is just as good for you as 2018 has been in terms of growth and continuing to reach more people in the community. So yeah, good luck to you for that, and I hope you guys have a good Christmas. Nili as well, can't wait for NAC 2. I'm really sad that I won't be able to make it for longer, but I will be there for the weekend at the very least. So I'm looking forward to meeting everyone there as well in the new year. But yeah, thanks everyone, and I guess I'll see you next year on the next Talk of the Empire, whenever that might be.
Yeah. Cheers, Zach. Thanks for being around.
Yep, thanks.
I'll see you guys later. Goodbye.
Well, the cameras will be effed up for sure.
Whoa!
Kind of expected. What's up?
I was not expecting to see myself there. That was a shock.
So yeah, then I will do some questions just after this episode. So everyone who has some questions to Tristan, because we don't have too many questions and answers that he's actually doing, I heard. Maybe ask him a bit. So the question was, what do you think about... what do you think is the situation in a year when it comes to professionalism and casting and the whole competitive scene?
Oh God, it's tough. It's hard for me to see the path away from. Should probably think more about this. I don't know, man. I think it's going to be similar in the sense that there's a lot of strong individuals. I think it's going to be similar with the players that are playing, because those guys are so good that I don't see anyone rivaling them right now. Potentially a few 2K4s or 2K5s could squeak in 1v1s, but that's it. However, I think that everything will be much larger. So there will be more people watching. There will be more people playing. And then that will hopefully stem to, I don't know, bigger organizational support from Microsoft and Escape and all of that. But right now we're in a state where there's a lot of individuals, myself included, Nili included. And to go from that to how like League performs, for example, where they have an analyst desk and they have casters who quite literally like are just casting for their job. They don't have their own individual streams. To get to that's going to take some more time than just a year. So I guess everything will be bigger and better, Nili, but I think kind of the same in many ways.
Okay. Do you think Sling needs a nerf?
No. Well,
why?
Here, I shouldn't say no, but Sling is a strategy, and if you don't want Sling in your tournaments, you're going to be seeing the same civilizations all the time. As you said with Battle of Africa, I think. Do you agree with that?
I think the format that we have in tournaments at the moment, that we want to see as many different civilizations as possible, kind of forces players to Sling.
Correct.
And I think you can't get both, all civilizations and no Sling.
Correct.
And that's what the community isn't really understanding at the moment, I believe.
But as far as nerfing Sling goes, maybe a little, but how many times has this conversation been had? Sling has been nerfed multiple times over the years, so I don't know. I think it is, again, the settings of the tournament where players feel like they have no choice but to Sling. And Sling is a strategy. Sling fails, and Sling has success. So it's just like, well, it's not just like, but full walling is a strategy. Tower rushing is a strategy. It's just another complicated element of Age of Empires 2.
Do you think someone can beat the Viper in 2019? Like, consistently?
Depends on motivation. I think, again, this is being very harsh because I don't know what goes on in someone's life, but I am in the position to speculate, I suppose. I think Leary has the talent. I haven't felt like he's been incredibly motivated until recently again, but I think Leary has had the talent. I think we've seen Yo get enough results for his Viper over the past couple of years to possibly do it. Consistently with Yo, maybe not, but Leary comes to mind, and maybe Vivi. Like, Vivi certainly plays the game enough, but right now he's not as consistent as he would need to be.
Can Vivi really challenge him on other maps than Arabia, though?
That's why I said it wasn't just maybe; it was maybe. So it was a big maybe. Someone said MBL. MBL is probably the most. I don't want to say he's the most underrated player, but I think that people don't give him the respect he deserves for how well he's performed. I think he's easily a top 5 player, no doubt about it. And he's been getting some really good results. ECL land, he was in top 4. Nili's Apartment Cup, top 4. Hidden Cup, he lost to Viper in the finals. There's various examples. He's very active. If I were to be MBL's coach, I'd say his one weakness is probably his mindset. And I think that's also Viper's strength.
Yeah, I think preparation as well.
Yeah. Thinking
about what civilizations you want to have for what map beforehand. Yeah. think he is top 5 in 1v1 Arabia. I'm not sure about team games, and I'm not sure about mixed maps though. But yeah, he's an absolute beast in 1v1 Arabia. And he could have an easily breakout performance in KOTD.
Do you get the feeling that MBL doesn't see himself as that good of a player?
I don't know.
Okay, let me ask you this. Do you get the feeling that the community perspective, the community doesn't necessarily see him as top 5? Like when they don't see MBL, they don't have that hype associated with other top 5 players.
It's tricky, right? Since 80% of the casual, or like let's say the casual viewer is getting their ranking from Viper stream. They know Viper is the best. Then there are the mass hypers, mass trolls, mass Doubt fans that think like, okay, Doubt is number 1, Doubt is number 2, Doubt is number 3, and all the hype there.
Yeah.
And to really see how good MBL is, it is tricky, right? He won Legacy of the Hunt, Viper trolled. He will never get the respect. Did he perform an ECL event? No. Did he have a chance against Viper or... Well, he beat Viper at NAC, right? A lot of people don't see that as like people don't see MBL beat him. They saw, oh, Viper wasn't performing.
Won. Oh, yes. That's a big concern. I don't want to get into it too much, but there are instances where Viper trolls, but there are also instances where Viper gets beaten. And there's too many times where, and this actually happened in the KOTD finals, Leary versus Viper, which ended up going to game 9 in a best of 9, where Viper would lose a game and they'd say, oh, Viper's just giving Leary a chance, you know? So anyway, I don't want to get into that too much, but my feeling is because MBL is always around, people kind of underrate him. Because he plays all day, he streams all day, he's always there, right? So it's not like a wow, it's not like a ooh, MBL. He's always there. But imagine if he were to get on, like, let's say, not saying he'd be as good because he might not be informed, but let's say he were to get on and play games like 2 or 3 times a week and play at the form he is. I think people would be more excited about him because of that.
I would really love to see him win an ECL 1v1 event. Or maybe make it like Hidden Cup. Sure. Is anyone talking about MBL got 2nd in Hidden Cup? That was an incredibly tough tournament with the sickest players in the world. Is anyone saying MBL got in the finals there? Is he maybe the 2nd best Arabia player?
No. No one.
Yeah.
And I think they should be. That's my point. I think they should be. And I think that MBL also doesn't give himself enough credit because he's a beast of a player. Yeah, so that's pretty much my answer to that question. That was a long-winded response. But yeah, MBL is a great player. Norway, I don't know what they feed people in Norway, but they have Snippy, Viper, and MBL, so they're doing something right there. Also, do you mind if I go back to the Hidden Cup bracket for a second?
Go ahead. Yeah. I don't have the bracket. I only have the placements of the top 4.
Yeah, I'm gonna bring it up. So Miguel in Hidden Cup beat Doubt 3-1. He beat Leary 3-2. And then lost to Viper in the semifinals. That's a fantastic result for Miguel. I can link it for you, Nili, if you don't have it. It's challenge.com/AoE Hidden Cup. You also had Riot perform really well, beating Mr. Yo. And as you guys know, Riot's not as active. And then he just lost out to MBL, who of course was one of the finalists. So it's a tough tournament to really tell because it's a shorter event, but there are definitely some results there which players should be proud of. Anyway, more questions. I'm looking at the chat here.
What are your thoughts on Riot?
I've spoken to Miguel about it multiple times, and Miguel swears that if Riot had the time to play like Viper and Leary and these other guys, that he'd easily be top 3. That's coming from a very good player. Miguel says Riot is easily the best in Brazil. And as you know, in the AOC days, Riot was up there, right?
Yeah, he was top 3.
Yeah, but you know what? It's really hard for me to judge because you have Riot and Jordan who left the game and they came back and they're no longer as dominant as they were. And sure, there's the time aspect, but I believe people have gotten better. I know Viper was dominant, but I believe people has gotten better, or the metagame currently doesn't suit them in some way. Like it can't be 100% the time they're putting into it. It's got to be that the scene has also improved a little bit or the meta's changed. So it's complicated. I guess the reality is Riot and Jordan can't put in the time right now. So
yeah, sadly. But when I watch Riot stream, he is fast, he's sharp, he thinks very, just very cleverly. I think he's just not really going with the meta and not obviously playing the tournaments. But I think he can take the top. When I saw Jordan stream after his break, that looked really shady.
I didn't look. I love Jordan to death. I know other people do too, but it felt like Jordan was playing the meta, but he was just behind everybody. Riot is. I remember when I first started watching streams, I thought I was like, Riot is faster than Viper. This is crazy. And he maintains his speed and precision. So I'd like to see it, Nili. I'd like to see it. I'd like to see anybody crack into the top 4 that's not currently there. I'd like to see anybody really threaten Viper for number 1.
Do you think the Max could be top 5 in the world?
Yes. I think he arguably is. Because he's a fantastic team game player. I don't think many people would argue that he's top 14 game. And then in KOTD, which is really the only example I can think of, let me bring up KOTD real quick. In my opinion, he had the hardest road in KOTD, and he had the best results.
I think he just lost 3-0 to Viper in the quarters or something, I believe.
Yeah, he beat Licks, he beat Slam, and he beat MBL. Those 3 names are names that could have gone to the semis. Maybe not Licks, but Slam and MBL could have. And then he lost to Viper. So I don't know, man. Maybe he just doesn't play enough 1v1s. Maybe KOTD 2, he signed up. Maybe. I think that's a concern in general with trying to rate players. We just don't have enough examples. Viper, we have examples. He's always near the top. It's just about consistency.
Yeah. Well, and that's the beauty of ECL that we have now, right? We can see them over and over again. And we still have a 1v1 event in KOTD where the Max will perform still 2 ECL 1v1 events, but I think the Max already played one, so he will play one more there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
T90Official, will there be community games in 2019? No more. Sorry. I just wanted to get my fan base build up, and I'm stopping all the nothing games. Sorry, guys. Sorry, Nili. What were you gonna say?
I think we're getting something to the end, so I will allow 3 more questions towards Tristan, and then I will let him go.
I'm gonna be choosy here.
Okay, you can choose a question, obviously. Yeah.
Okay.
You can ask me questions as well. Can Nili be top 20? You shouldn't ask. Oh, God.
Do you want my answer to that question? I won't answer that question. In deathmatch, Nili's already there. I don't think you could be top 20. Not right now, Nili. It's because Nili puts too much time into his casting. It's not because of his potential. That's what it is.
Okay, what spot could I reach if I went full-time playing and wouldn't cast at all anymore?
Dude, stop it, man. We have a good friendship here, okay?
Give me a number or a range.
Honestly, I'm not going to say what 2K3 and 2K4 I'm thinking of, but I believe that you could, like, I'm just comparing the skill of a 2K3 or 2K4 currently. to the skill you have, and I think you could hit 2K4, which would put you in the top 50, right? You could. I think you could. But you need to go Vivi style because you're very good at that. So
Okay.
I'm looking at your face. You're not convinced. You think I'm sucking up to you right now?
No, I at the moment I would have placed myself as number 50.
Okay. Yeah.
I think 2.4K is way better. You have to think about like there at the moment, like let's say every ECL player is better than me. Let's just assume that. That's like, let's say 40. And then it's tough to find a lot more players that are not playing ECL and better than me. That's, let's say, I would say like 10.
Yeah, there's probably 10. Yeah. But I mean, when I say 2K4, I guess I was talking based off the ladder, right? Which I think you're currently 2K2. So
yeah, something like that.
Okay, so I have to ask you now, what's my potential?
It's tricky to see. So only Arabia?
Oh, definitely. I'm basically a spring 2.0. So, except I don't cry as much when I get towered, and I don't drink as much. So those are the two differences.
And no porn on stream.
No, yeah, I don't put porn on my stream either.
Okay. I think you wouldn't go through with it. But let's assume you would go through with it. Like
yeah,
I think you would lose.
Because
I think you would lose motivation after playing the 12th day in a row, 10 hours of 1v1 Arabia. I think you just would want to stop.
I wouldn't be MBL, that's for sure. My wrist, I don't know how his wrist doesn't fall
off. That's so sick, yeah.
But I'd say, so I'm kind of spotty right now with my motivation right now, because I will play 12 hours a day on a day off. And then
not 10 days in a row.
Not 10 days in a row. I'll do it like 2 or 3 days, but I'm not playing to improve. I'm playing to have fun at the 2K level. I'm not playing to improve right now. So I agree. Like, I definitely don't have the mindset to try and, get to a higher level.
I think that's desperately needed because the top 20 is kind of competitive at the moment.
Dude, I have even if you were to hand me the skills to be top 20 or top 10, I would definitely choose casting over it. No doubt about it. So
way more enjoyable, way easier.
Yeah, and I feel like as an individual, I have more of an impact, which means a lot to me as a streamer. To like, sure, I guess someone's gameplay could make someone happy, but as a streamer, I feel like I can influence people. So that's what I like. So anyway, I'm glad that we seem to be pretty close with our guesses. Said top 50 for you. You think you're already there, and then you said pretty much around the same where I am now. Okay, 2 more?
Yeah. That was one question. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. I can make it lengthy. Let's see. Questions, guys. We need 2 questions. We want to see a show match between you. I've had a lot of people ask me to do show matches. I would play Nili in 1v1s. I don't know about a show match. I don't want to hype it up. But if Nili's ever streaming, playing 1v1s, I'll join up and play him. If we were to do a best of 7, I'd say Nili would win 4-1, and it would have to be all Arabia for me to have a chance because he plays a lot of full random. That was the second, and then what's the third? Dave's question. That's great.
As warm as my butt cheeks, Dave.
Oh, man.
Per video, the question was, what is the optimal bench temperature? He's always making fun that I'm the bench warmer of Heresy.
Yeah.
Which I am. It only shows how good Heresy is.
These questions, no offense, chat, but these questions aren't exciting me.
Yeah. Not as good as your chat.
Oh, wow. You just called your people out, man. I think a lot of the viewers here are also my viewers, so get wrecked, guys. Okay, this is a good question. Thank you, Kobe. shout out to Kobe. Salutes go out to you. He says, T90, was Ireland in World Cup a fluke, or are the brothers going to be contenders going forward? So first of all, you have to consider that Viper was not playing on his setup. Viper played really bad in the Norway versus Ireland set. I think if Viper is playing as normal, then Ireland probably don't have a chance there. And there's other things that have to do with how the World Cup played out. However, I think that Melkor specifically is a very exciting player right now. He has an interesting mind for the game, which, as we just said, is important. He thinks about the game in an out-of-the-box way at times. He's a bit innovative, and he does have the mechanical skill. And he also has a brother. So in 2v2 team games, they could sit right next to each other, have free cartography, and they have amazing communication, I assume. So that could be cool for them. So yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Okay, I have a last question for you to wrap up the stream.
Okay.
How many times will the two of us see each other next year in real life?
One confirmed, which will probably be the ECL LAN. But I would hope twice. But as you know, go ahead.
I'm guessing 4 times.
4 times? Wow. You got to come to the States now, man. You have to have a real meal. None of this 3 bites and you're done thing. Come to America, man. Yeah, that would be great. I mean, I love meeting people in the Age of Empires 2 community. I love casting at the LAN. Casting with Nili at the LAN and ECL was cool because I think we both improved a lot as casters since then, but he's someone who strategizes as you kind of would before a game. Like Nili and I talked about how we'd want to say things, how we'd want to do things. And that is something I do an incredible amount personally. So it's cool to cast with Nili. T90 Apartment Cup. Yeah, unlikely. Unlikely. But yeah, I would say 2 times, but I'll be happy if it's 4.
Okay. I'm looking forward to every single one of them. Looking forward to a great year. It was a pleasure. It was the longest Talk of the Empire we ever had, close to 3 hours. And yeah, I enjoyed every second of it. Thank you so much. But it seems like you have some other last words. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe you tell us something about the upcoming weekend.
Yeah. Can I plug my 24-hour stream?
You should. You should.
Most people know, but I have a 24-hour stream on Saturday, and I've worked hard to get some awesome things lined up. So Vivi and Deliri will be playing 7 games, not a best of 7, but they will be playing 7 games. Dave will be co-casting, and with different maps, and it's $100 a win. That will be exciting. Spirit of the Law will be stopping by. So he'll be helping me co-cast a community-style game at Regicide. However, it's my moderators and probably a lot of people who are in these Twitch chats frequently because they're regulars to the community. So that'll be fun. It'd be fun to co-cast with Spirit of the Law. My brother will be coming on, and we'll be playing a 1v1 challenge. Dave, MBL, and I will be doing a co-op challenge where we control the same point of view. And there's kind of hard to get into this and explain it, but it's a lot of fun. And I'll have many different giveaways going on. So thank you, Nili, for letting me plug that.
Will there be a co-op challenge, for example, with Dave and MBL?
Yep. That's what it is. So I already have my challenges. I, of course, will not know the players' challenges as we play, but I bet you there will be a lot of challenges that have to do with laming for MBL. So it'll be pretty easy to call him out on his challenges. Oh, man. So, yeah, guys, thank you all. It's, we talked a lot about what individuals do for this community and what certain events have done for this community, but really you guys are the biggest part of this community. You guys might have found certain videos and certain content and tournaments, but you guys are here just to listen to 2 guys, 3 guys talk about Age of Empires 2, which is awesome. Nili is pointing. Yeah, so seriously, thank you guys. Nili and I both love you all. Thank you for supporting the AoE2 community. And Nili, thank you for inviting me on, man. It was a good time being here. Happy to be here. It was fun to review this awesome year.
It absolutely was. Have a great one, everyone. Have great holidays. See you, Tristan. T90 salute in the chat, guys.